Unconfirmed reports that Russian drones launched an incursion into NATO territory. Numerous reports are flying around that Poland, NATO, and other military installations in Europe are on high alert. We don't know for sure. It's seeming like it may either be a false alarm or may be winding down. But numerous outlets, individuals were sharing images, air traffic that appear to show NATO was taking this seriously. We reached out to some sources. We don't know for sure. Maybe it was a big nothing burger, but Ukraine claims to have confirmed that Russian drones did enter NATO airspace. So maybe we'll talk about that. We've also got, and you know, it's kind of strange to actually put this in the front on the lead on this one. Video release showing a UAP bifurcating a Hellfire missile. It's pretty scary because that's pretty advanced tech for us to get easily destroyed by some unidentified aerial phenomena. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, the follow-up in the Irina Zarutska story. New video has emerged. Responses to CNN. Van Jones, of course, claiming that Charlie Kirk was a race monger for daring to mention it may be about race. Kind of ironic coming from Van Jones and CNN after a decade of race mongering. But new video that has been released. It is being reported. We can't confirm. It's hard to. We'll play. You can hear the audio. The killer says something to the effect of, "I got that white girl." So it appears to be racial. We'll talk about that. Plus the revolution in Nepal. Man, the government is falling and the communists are being, well, it's pretty scary. There's 19 dead protesters and videos of some politicians' family members dying in the escalating conflict. The prime minister has resigned. We'll talk about all that. Before we get started, my friends, we got some great sponsors. We got Alio Capital. ALLIO. Have you noticed how confusing and divided the world feels these days, whether it's politics, money, or just daily life? Truth is, a lot of this comes down to not really understanding how the money world works. Finally, there is a tool that makes things clear. I want to tell you guys about Alio Capital app. It's built by people who really get at how global events affect your money. Imagine an app that keeps an eye on things like inflation, interest rates, stuff that actually changes what's in your pocket and then automatically tweaks your investments so you don't have to stress about it. It's smart, it's easy, and it works for you whether you want to get hands on or just set it and forget it. It's great having something that breaks down big picture stuff into steps you understand. If you want to feel a little less in the dark about your finances, check out the Alio app in the App Store or text Tim to 511-511. That's ALLIO Capital. Or text Tim to 511-511 to see what it's all about. 511-511, that's the number, to see what it's all about. It's in Google Play or the App Store. Just remember, every investment has risks. Nothing's a sure thing. But I like the Alio guys. They make understanding growing your money a whole lot simpler and easier. Standard text fees applies. This is a paid sponsorship. Shout out. And we also got a great sponsor. It is Beam Dream, for which I am a huge fan. Go to shopbeam.com/TimPool. Pick up your Beam Dream. It's going to help you sleep. It's got good stuff in it. We're constantly pulled in hundreds of directions between news, politics, work, family. For me, sleep was the first thing to suffer. Trust me, I felt it every day. In fact, I did not even realize I was having bad sleep. So Beam sends us this package, and I'm always like, I got to try it before I shout it out, right? I want to know what it's really about. And it was delicious, and I'm drinking it, and I'm like, it's pretty good. After a few days, it like built up on me, and I started, no joke, I feel like I'm getting the best sleep of my life. I don't miss a night without drinking my Beam Dream. It's got magnesium, melatonin, L-theanine. It's absolutely fantastic. And I've got these sleep trackers that give you a score, and I was always pretty good. I started drinking Beam Dream, and I didn't even know that my sleep was not that good. I felt like this is just the way life is. I wake up now, bang, I'm instantly awake. Everything feels great. I feel like I got lightning surging through me. I am a huge fan. Not only that, every night before bed, no joke. I've been drinking the brownie batter one because they got the cinnamon cocoa. It's a delicious glass of hot cocoa right before bed, low calorie, no added sugar. It's absolutely amazing, and I am legit a huge fan. So make sure you go to shopbeam.com/TimPool to get up to 40% off. Absolutely check it out. It's great. Thanks for sponsoring the show. And don't forget to go to timcast.com, click join us, join our Discord server. We're going to have that uncensored Rumble Premium show coming up at 10 p.m. where you as Discord members can call in and talk to us, and your chats are live on the show in real time. So don't forget to also smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we got Tony Kinnett. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm at the Daily Signal. I do a little show out of Indiana, and I get under the USA Today's skin. Well, at least as long as they're still open.
Right on. Well, it should be fun. Jack Posobiec is here.
I am back. I'm in the guest seat for once in a while. Tim, glad to see that you and hear that you are doing better.
I live. I have returned.
Unfortunately for the world at large.
Well, it was brutal. I've never been so sick. And it was funny because we got a comment yesterday and they were like, Tim says he worked so hard. He went to the ER and nearly died. And now he's promoting a new YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@TimPool, where I'm doing additional 20 to 30 minutes of content per day because I have a death wish. Libby's hanging out.
I'm Libby Emmons. I'm hanging out. Glad to be here with all you guys.
And of course,
hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
We got the story from BNO News. Poland on high alert after Ukraine says Russian drones entered its airspace. Now, Sky News reported this, breaking, saying that Ukraine has confirmed Russian drones, and these are not little bitty ones. These are big boys, have entered NATO airspace. Now we're seeing posts flying all over Twitter showing air traffic reports, flight radar, saying that it looks like, Italy's involved. Let me pull up some of the tweets we got here. We got Mario Naufel. Check this out. He says, breaking, unverified reports claim Russian drones entering Poland, Moldova, Slovakia airspace. New reports allege Russian attack drones have entered airspace over Moldova, Slovakia, in addition to Poland. Commercial aircraft reportedly diverted. Polish Air Force aircraft active in the eastern regions. Previous reports claimed 3+ drones were downed. Unconfirmed reports now claim drone incursion in 3 NATO countries. Multiple nations scrambling air defenses. Civilian flights being rerouted, but no official confirmation. Mario Naufel tweets, Italian early warning aircraft joins NATO response to alleged drone incursions. An Italian G550 CAEW aircraft reportedly launched near Estonia and is heading south toward eastern Poland, joining growing NATO air activity. A Dutch A330 tanker with fighter escorts from Germany. You've got Polish Air Force active in the eastern regions, NATO QRA fighters with unconfirmed reports of the Russian drones entering NATO airspace. And I'll stress again, Sky News reporting this. Russian drones entering Polish airspace. We have some of these images. Now, I think the thing that's disconcerting for me is that Ukraine, they're the ones who are confirming this. And they have been desperate to force NATO into the conflict since it started. We have the Germany issuing the arrest warrant for the Ukrainian nationals who bombed the Nord Stream pipeline. And of course, that was then blamed on Russia. Ukraine has consistently made efforts to force NATO into direct war with Russia. So that's my fear. While I certainly could believe Russia would make a move like this, I'm also concerned Ukraine might do some dirty, nefarious, underhanded war tactics to try and force us into the fight.
Again, we're still trying to confirm this. I've reached out to a number of contacts that I have throughout government, let's just say, and I've not been able to get anyone to confirm anything as of right now. Also, I haven't been able to get anyone to deny it, to say that it's affirmatively not true. So what seems to be the most true at this point, that the NATO response is they're clearly responding to the reports. However, the veracity of the reports, I think, is still up for confirmation. And, Tim, to your point, it would be a very, very strange situation if Russia were to choose this moment to attack NATO, when they have been very careful not to up until this moment. Obviously serves no ground advantage for them. It doesn't serve their strategy to pick a fight with NATO right now. So, of course, all remains to be seen. Are we looking at, potential just false reporting? Are we looking at a potential where there were drones that perhaps were pushed off course or went off course? All remains to be seen.
The scary thing is it could be accidental, like you said, pushed off course, maybe intentionally, accidentally, but
There's technology that can do that.
Of course. But back in the early days of the consumer grade drones, it was extremely easy to seize control of these.
Oh yeah, that was
Really?
like a whole
Is that
thing.
right?
When you would have they used to call it, like, it was part of the drone wars, that you would try to steal someone's radio signal.
Me and my buddies,
Yeah.
my friend would launch a drone, and I'd be like, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very easy to do.
But you
and
just like hack into it or whatever?
hack is a very strong
You would
word for
override
literally.
the signal.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's I wouldn't call it hacking. I would call it like turning on yours. That's how easy it was.
Okay.
Well, it's all about strength. So, like, the closer the signal is, the stronger, the more power you aim at it. It just brushes the other guy out of the way, and then all of a sudden, you're the one in control of that.
And you can mess up its GPS and then cause it to land very easily. So, my buddy could launch his drone and I could land it and he'd be like, son of a, and it would be, far away. Now, this is me and my friends doing research intentionally. So this was not like us doing it to anybody else's.
Right.
But I will just stress, one of the problems we have in the United States, what really bothers me is that people fly drones on other people's property. You can't do that.
yeah.
But you as the property also can't do anything about it, which is messed up.
Why can't you do anything about it if it's your property? You can't shoot it down because of the FAA, right?
Because you can't shoot guns into the air.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like a thing.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it is illegal to shoot aircraft.
Right.
And these are aircraft. So my concern is, do we trust Ukraine if it really did happen?
I'm going to say stay frosty. I always say this. Anything that comes out of the war zone, that gray zone of warfare, initial reports are always, different from what ends up coming out. So stay frosty.
Yeah,
Stay
wait to see what Poland says.
Well,
right?
we do.
Wait till other NATO countries.
I'm actually reaching out to people in Poland right now.
We do actually have an update from Poland itself. They have issued another notice to airmen issued for eastern Poland by the Polish Civil Aviation Authority about 15-20 minutes ago, this time for the Lublin airport. Jack, do you know where Lublin, Poland is?
My family is very close to Lublin.
Gotcha. Well, perfect. Thanks.
Sydney Morning Herald has it confirmed.
But you're saying they've issued a notice just...
Basically, they've said that unplanned military activity related to ensuring state security, flight radar suggested there's some Polish F-16s, some maybe
So that
US
means there's some
F-35.
NATO stuff up, yeah.
Yeah, at least there's a sortie in the air and they're checking things out.
And I think they closed the Rzeszów airport, which is the next largest airport, which is near to I don't know if we have a map up.
I mean, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and say, well, take it all with a grain of salt. Sydney Morning Herald, as well as The Sun, are now confirming it. NATO jets scrambled if Ukrainian Air Force is warning over Russian drones.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, Ukraine confirmed it, and other outlets are saying NATO is scrambling. So we don't know. So I'll put it like this. It appears confirmed that NATO is actually activating Air Force.
Yeah, but
we
that
don't know that Russia actually did this.
Yeah, these forces have been activated on Ukraine's word.
I'm gonna just go ahead and say though, I think it's more likely that there's some legitimate intelligence that Russia has done this than there isn't. I don't think NATO just willy-nilly says, what's that, Ukraine? We'll take your word for it. Launch the Air Force. I think they've got actionable intelligence.
It's such a weird time to do this because, as we've seen in videos the last couple of days, and I know you've been sharing a lot of this, people in the Polish parliament have been beating their chest, burning the EU flag, wiping their muddy shoes with it. I mean, this is when Poland is beating the most nationalist chest it has in a very long time. And to do that kind of a, 3 of these particular class of drones into Polish territory. Again, I'm just saying from a distance and from individuals that I have sources in the region, it looks like people are coming to sweep in and investigate, but what a weird time to poke Poland.
I don't see any benefit for Russia to do that. I mean, I'm not.
Kalachkis, probably.
What?
Kalachkis, Polish, they're like a pastry, right?
Oh,
A little
yeah.
meat in the
I
end.
mean,
Kalachkis?
not that I have any kind of like inside knowledge or anything, but it doesn't seem that like there's any upside for Russia to do this at all. No. They've got the attention of most of the Western world. They don't want to get NATO involved in the Ukraine war at all because right now they're in a very good position in NATO. They like Donald Trump likes to say, they're the ones holding all the cards. So it doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm not an expert.
But you don't know. We don't know the finer details of what Russia has to benefit from this. It on the surface, we just don't know.
So Tim, this is what I was going to say. So Rzeszów, the airport there, which is like the closest airport in southeastern Poland to the Ukrainian border, that is the key entry point of NATO armaments, weapons, ammunition going into Ukraine.
Like holding the pass kind of a situation?
So it's sort of like, it basically, if you shut down that airport, you shut down the flow of NATO weapons to Ukraine. Because
like a logistics move.
that is the key hub of all. So every time, so I've been to Rzeszów twice this year, And every time I'm there, you just see, Italian aircraft, cargo planes, U.S., Spain, I think Netherlands, whoever just happens to be there. It's like all of NATO aircraft are there at that airport. And so you could really shut down the supply lines. Now, again, I'm not saying that's what this is, but I know that's an absolutely key hub because it's the largest airport just across the border from Libya.
Well, I think it's important to point out that Vladimir Putin is just a one-dimensional comic book villain. And he would do this while twirling his mustache simply because, and we should absolutely believe whatever it is Ukraine says because they're the good guys and they do everything right.
I heard he did this while he was harvesting organs.
Yeah.
Was he polishing
With
his
G, right? With
monocle,
G?
or was this after he polished his
together?
monocle?
After. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. And then his servant came in and gave him a new one on a pillow.
By the way, I do want to point out that artificially messing with GPS to send drones in is literally the plot of the best Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
How about that? Okay.
Well, I mean, look, if Russia wants to play, if this did happen, and Russia actually is flying drones close enough to the Polish border, then they're
Which they have before.
Right, they're asking for trouble right away because you don't even need to make the argument that Ukraine's going to use technology to do it. The drones could just accidentally do it too close to the border, and then Russia's got to answer for that. So I don't want to be involved in these foreign wars. I like when our Department of War, isn't that funny, is actually focused on our borders, our people. Man, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's been going well for us, I think.
Indeed. And so I would just say, Russia, back the F off from NATO countries. Don't make there are anti-war people in the United States that don't want to be involved in whatever's going on. And if Russia is playing fast and loose on NATO borders, it's going to force this country to get involved. And I don't want that.
Yeah, and Trump doesn't want that. Trump just wants this war to come to an end. He doesn't want America dragged into it at all. He's been working so hard on this. And meanwhile, you have Putin and Zelensky who don't seem at all interested in bringing an end to this thing.
It's also, by the way, and since we're throwing out the fog of war stuff, it's also entirely possible, and this is why you really have to go to like high fidelity radar, and you really have to dig in on this stuff because it's entirely possible that drones never crossed into Poland, and it was just a false reading, and that it was an attack on the Ukrainian side, and yet they got some reading that they were pinging on the Polish side but this is a very small area. It's almost like talking about the border between like Maryland and West Virginia and Virginia, where they're all sort of compacted together in the Harpers Ferry area. And oh my gosh, something's here, something's there, but you're looking on signals. These are prone to potential error, and that's why by the way you would send up an air task force, because you want to get higher fidelity readings on whatever's up there. And you can do that if you've got an AWACS craft or something up there that's actually tracking this in real time.
I'm glad you mentioned that because this actually kind of ties into one of the reasons the United States has deployed F-35s to Puerto Rico. F-35s are not just used in close air support and strike packages. They are excellent reconnaissance vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of the reasons that I think it's quite nice that a U.S. Air Force...
the multi-mission.
Bingo.
Yeah.
The multi-mission part of the craft is that it can fly in and say, I hear rumors of whatever. The president is currently enjoying a delicious seafood dinner. Let me see how real this is at the moment.
Yeah, you send a couple birds up, you check it out.
I'm not going to trust Kyiv to tell me what's going on the border.
Yeah, we're obviously not going to be, and this is why George Washington talked about, being wary of foreign entanglements. This is how World War I started, where one alliance, one treaty triggers another treaty, treaty. And so if we're going to be going down that path, let's figure out what's going on our own before we start making calls to Vladimir Putin directly.
While we're talking about war, let's jump to this story, which is actually pretty crazy. And, I got to be honest, it is rare that we start off a show in this with a story like this, but shocking radar footage shows Hellfire missile fired by U.S. military bounce off UFO over ocean.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you see this? I mean, Anna Paulina Luna.
Ask every witness here, specifically ones that have sensor training or have been able to recognize some of this movements real quick. So if you guys can please roll that real quick.
So for those that are just listening, they're playing a video that appears to show a UFO.
Which one is the UFO?
In the center.
In the center.
It's being tracked.
Being
That's
tracked.
the thing?
Yeah, they're
Yep.
tracked.
They don't know what it is.
Looks like an amoeba.
and a Hellfire missile bounces off of it.
Oh. And it went flying into bits.
Did it bounce or did it hit behind it?
Okay, while this is still rolling, Mr. Nusatelli, real quick yes or no answers. Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
So I think
And
I think the Hellfire missile was being tracked.
Yeah.
And then the UFO rammed through it and split it in half.
do whatever
was the
blob thing it
Hellfire
did and then
there?
keep
Yeah.
going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggins?
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
Chief Wiggum.
Whoa.
What do you
Okay,
think, Chief Wiggums?
I'd prefer to answer that in a skiff.
Wow.
Rep. Anna Paulina Luna says, in today's UAP hearing, we revealed new military surveillance video showing a UAP splitting a Hellfire missile in midair. Not a single witness was aware of any U.S. military technology capable of such a feat. Every witness described the footage as extremely scary. This is pretty wild. I don't really know, how we. Is this U.S. weapons technology that they're keeping under wraps? They're not telling us about. They're just lying.
So, I mean, high probability of that, honestly. That and that's why he says I kind of that's kind of my general understanding of all this UAP stuff. It's that we've got tech that we don't want the foreign adversaries to know that it's out there, but at the same time they've got similar tech that they're using to target, and that's why this stuff is always involved in military. It's why it's always around like Air Force, military emplacements. If it was actually some kind of
Alien?
extraterrestrial or interdimensional activity,
Angels or demons?
why would angels or demons be around military bases all the time? Whereas the more simple answer is that it's just a counterintelligence operation, and these are some type of technology that just hasn't been made public yet. And why
Makes the most sense.
public? Because we have it.
Well, also, we don't just cover up things that maybe we have kind of hidden under the pocket. Also, if the device malfunctioned, and I'm just going to say from my humble position that something clearly went wrong with that AGM, that particular missile didn't explode. It looks like the package that it was carrying didn't go off. And I'm certainly not going to watch some officer tell a congressperson in front of the cameras, hey, here's why our missile didn't go off, in case anyone out there is listening wondering how to shut off strike packages so it... I mean, if something hits at a high velocity, it's still going to fracture and cause damage, but the explosive package in the missile not going off, I don't want other people knowing that our missiles ever malfunction ever. They always work forever. No more questions.
Which
I agree with you on that.
The warhead on a Hellfire missile it's small. You're talking like football size. I mean, they're not. This isn't a cruise missile. This isn't a. This isn't like an anti air-to-air missile or something like that. They're typically they're much smaller. Now they're powerful and they are fiery, and that is kind of the point. It's supposed to melt through.
I hear a lot of
Hellfire?
excuses, trying real hard.
Do you think
I'm just going to
it's
say
UFO?
aliens.
You
Just
think
aliens.
it's aliens?
This proves aliens exist. No, I agree with Jack. There was
some kind of malfunction.
There was a funny story from like a year ago where they released this UAP footage, and it was like pilots at the Air Force Base had witnessed these strange objects, and then later down at the bottom of the story, it mentioned that they were 70 miles from an advanced research naval facility, and I was like, what?
Oh, well, there you go.
Why are you wasting our time? We get it.
Well, and the way the government is constructed in terms of compartmentalization is that depending on how far down the rabbit hole you go, those compartments are, I don't even know if there's anyone who knows how many compartments there are in the government in terms of these special access programs. And so you could have a special access program that like only 3 people know about or like really know all the details of. So when you get a guy that you've pulled up and they say, well, I don't know anything about that. He doesn't know anything about that because he's not in that compartment. That's in a different compartment from where it works. And, I'm not saying a technology would be in that category, but certainly advanced research, advanced projects would absolutely be something that you would keep in a separate track. And so you can have someone say under oath and completely truthfully, and nothing against it, but it's just that's the way the government works. That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would just rather believe in aliens because it makes life less boring. the idea that there's a grander story. Or
I'm not
something.
against the belief at all. I'm totally open to it. I just really don't think that's what this is.
It's also kind of really hard for people to understand that a lot of crap that is supposedly military grade, that's not a compliment.
Not anymore, no.
And it just so happens that a lot of stuff fails quite consistently, and that doesn't always fit with everyone all the time is super duper malicious, because there's a lot of goobers that happen to put together designs. And I'm sorry to the folks over at Northrop Grumman and my 18 shots to the back of the head suicide later this week, but sometimes they put out metal that sucks.
Who was that astronaut? I don't know if it was Buzz Aldrin. They said, what was the last thing that went through your mind before you launched the Apollo mission? And he said that the ship was built by the lowest bidder.
Yeah,
Right.
That's how government works.
Yeah.
it is.
That's
it's
right.
so good.
Well, in a lot of in some places, that's the law. Like, it has to be built by the lowest bidder.
That's insane.
In New
Can we
York
just get
City,
a market solution?
in New York City, you have to take the lowest bidder, and then what happens is the lowest bidder sucks because they have no experience, and then they keep slapping you with change orders, so that by the time that they're done, it's way more expensive than if you just went with the experienced, higher cost
The
bidder.
whole system is a problem, and as much as I support everything that we see from Secretary Hegseth, Secretary of War, SecWar, Hegseth, and
I like
these
SecWar. I think
these
that's
moves.
good.
I like SecWar and War Department,
I
at least
think that's good.
in spoken English. But at the same time, I mean, this stuff is in many cases it's so deep and it's so incestuous and it's so bureaucratic because we fought the Soviet Union for so long. We became like a gay version of the Soviet Union, and where we just have bureaucracy on top of bureaucracy on top of bureaucracy for its own sake, not just in the military. It's just an obvious example of it where the purpose of why we do these things is almost completely disconnected from the actual mission and actions being taken.
Looks like we have some, I don't know how open source intel, I don't know how trustworthy this is, if anyone has any ideas, but they're saying that Warsaw Chopin Airport in Poland has been closed due to unplanned military activity, with another update from Knight OSINT. Poland has closed Warsaw International Airport and Lublin Airport, issuing NOTAMs due to unplanned military activity related to ensuring state security. The closure of Polish airspace comes following reports of Russian drones entering Poland this evening, or aliens. How do we know
it
it's
could
Russia?
be the Hellfire aliens
That's right.
have crossed over.
I think the thing
crossed
about-
over.
Pretending
Poland in half. Yeah.
Pretending wouldn't be the first time.
Oh,
Just saying. It
was the aliens that did
President
that.
Polak, wouldn't be the first partition of Poland. This side will be controlled by the Romulans, of course. The other side,
the Vulcans.
will be controlled by the Vulcans. Well,
And-
the Vulcans are the mediators.
Well, no, the Vulcans control one side, and then all those on the Romulan-controlled side are trying to flee to the Vulcan-controlled territories, but get gunned down before they get a chance.
By the Cardassians.
Yeah, by the Cardassians.
Of course.
I'm having a stroke, I'm sure of it.
The funniest thing about Star Trek: The Next Generation is that there's an alien race called the Cardassians, and they're
You have to be
Mil-
careful not to say
militaristic and
Kardashian.
right. You're not.
Yeah.
Shh. You know what I mean?
They look
So when you say that Patrick Stewart was mercilessly tortured by the Cardassians, that's just where we're at. So interesting. It does look like at least the belief is, as far as NATO is concerned, that it was Russia.
Well, we've got U.S. senators chiming in on it. Old Senator Dick Durbin's issued a statement. Repeated violations of NATO airspace by Russian drones are a fair warning that Vlad Putin is testing our resolve to protect Poland and the Baltic nations after the carnage.
This is just ridiculous.
It's called a slush.
I love
the speech
Senator.
impediment.
It's fantastic. After the carnage
Flush.
Putin continues to visit on Ukraine, these incursions can't be ignored. Dick Durbin's not ignoring it, guys. Care.
It's just
Illinois is got a bad reputation.
Yeah, we in Indiana hate it. We try to smuggle guns into it, and they won't let us. It's a
that's
problem.
part of your thing.
Yeah.
It's like an Illinois.
I would conquer Illinois and push Chicago into Lake Michigan tomorrow if they'd
How
let
about
me.
that? Okay.
Boy, shit.
Yeah.
It's over Lake Michigan as it is.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's built over.
The sea level. Yeah. Just like Patrick. Push it right in.
They lifted up the whole city, and that's what you get. But let's move on to.
I'm still not seeing any actual confirmation of drones.
The thing is, though, like nobody's life would change if there were aliens, unless aliens came down and they were like, "Oh, we're part of your life now."
Well, unless the aliens were in charge of the U.S. government.
Well, yeah, but
What if they
it
are?
still wouldn't. It still wouldn't change much if
Rowdy
they have
Roddy
been for a
Piper
while.
told me that if I put on the sunglasses,
I remember.
Actually, no, he resisted. It was the other dude.
Yeah.
It was.
He didn't want to put the glasses. Oh no. I'm wrong. He
Put on the
forced.
sunglasses,
He forced.
man. Put
Rowdy
on
Roddy
the
Piper. I'm wrong.
sunglasses.
Yeah,
He put them on,
yeah, put
saw
'em
it,
on.
and was like, "What?" And then the other guy was like, "I ain't wearing your glasses."
Then he ran out of bubble gum.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum. All right, guys. I know you want to laugh and have fun and joke around, but this next story is not conducive to that. From the New York Post, Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska's look of horror after she was fatally stabbed on the train, as her final moments are revealed. I'm not going to play the video, guys, here on the show. It is available on the New York Post. It's available all over X. The moment of the stabbing is viewable, the whole video in its entirety. It is extremely graphic, but there is a lot to talk about in the aftermath of this incident, as well as the video's full release. So the first thing I'm going to say is, with this video's release, you see almost right away, there's a few things I want to say. This evil psychopath, he stabs her, it appears, 3 times, just rapidly, boom, boom, boom. This poor young woman doesn't even know she was stabbed.
Right.
She's looking around, and she looks up in horror. What people don't realize is that when you get stabbed, it just feels like you got punched. And if you know, people watch movies, and in movies, the hero will go bang with a gun, and the guy just falls to the ground.
Or flies across the,
right.
you know.
And then not only that, in movies, the hero will punch the guy one time, and he'll just go on the ground and lay on the ground forever. Right. None of that happens. This poor young woman got stabbed, and she doesn't know. And I'll tell you what's really, really terrifying is then within about 10 or 15 seconds, she collapses, and there's a pool of blood on the chair. Now, people have immediately started criticizing the bystanders, the passengers, for not helping. I'm not going to do that, to an extent. When the man got up and stabbed her several times in the video, no one knew what happened. He got up, and it looked like he was just punching her. And if you're sitting next to her behind, it's just a crazy guy who hit her, and she looked fine.
For a second.
For about 15, 20 seconds. She then collapses, and this is where I have concern.
It was a full minute and a half before anyone got
Before anyone, she collapsed on the ground, and blood is pooling, and then there's a guy just staring at her. Now, the sad reality is, guys, I know a lot of people want to blame the bystanders, saying they're gawkers doing nothing. I don't think they knew what to do.
But even then, the only thing I would push back on a little bit is, and you're right, because the size of the pocket knife, as small as it was, it's very hard to tell in this video that he was carrying a knife. This was not like some big Bowie knife or a machete or something. It's small. But even if they didn't know she was stabbed, from their perspective, he at least attacked her. So you don't see anyone on or in that car with her say, "Hey, are you okay?" Mm-hmm. Just a very simple, "Hey, are you okay?"
But
nobody says it.
But I half agree. You're sitting there, you're looking out the window. This is what the average person is doing. They're not really paying attention. And within a split second, he goes wham, wham, wham into her. And then you look over, it's already done. You don't know what happened. And so that's why I half agree. Like, if I were there, I have a bit better situational awareness than everyone in this room probably does. And that's my criticism. Not on the individuals, but on our culture that has made soft, ignorant, and unaware individuals who are not paying attention to their surroundings, where this attack could happen, and they're just like, I have no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not they had no idea what was going on, because I'm going to make the case that the guy in the gray hoodie and the black pants that immediately after the stabber walks away muttering. We know from footage he's muttering, and you can hear that. The guy,
I got the white girl.
Right.
It sounds like
the guy with earbuds will say he can't hear anything, but he was definitely in line of sight to see it. This man gets up and just walks out right after, head down, like, I ain't got time for this. He's going to leave. So he knows something happened. He chose what he doesn't want is to wait for the police to show up and start asking questions. I hate that.
I want to stress this for those, if we can pull up this news article. The image you see with Irina Zarutska right here with her hand over her mouth, this is after she had already been stabbed.
Yep.
And what I think a lot of people don't realize, this photo's not graphic. There's
blood on the floor.
She has been fatally stabbed.
She has been fatally stabbed several times. Yeah. And if you showed this photo to someone and said, this is a bust, they'd be like, okay.
Right.
No one looks at this photo and goes, oh my God, look at this photo. People don't understand. Now, I will say another thing. I don't think, the reason why I am upset people didn't intervene and stop the guy is actually because they didn't know he had a knife. If somebody is brandishing a knife, I am not surprised no one will intervene. It is not like the movies where the guy with the knife swings at you, you grab his arm and flip him over. That doesn't happen.
No, but nobody says anything on the subway. I mean, I've been on the subway multiple times and been harassed by homeless people or crazy people and stuff. And the people on the subway around you, they just look away because they're just glad that you're the one that's being targeted and not them. I mean, I've had, it's dangerous. It feels really scary. I've been cornered by people.
What I'm saying is,
and nobody comes to help you no matter what.
Right. If the guy,
unless there's Daniel Penny, or like old women.
Right. If the guy was holding a 12-inch buck knife, I'd be like, I am not surprised. Everyone backed off. But my point is, no one knew he had a knife. You'd expect them to actually stop him.
Can we show that other picture where she's like, where she's like actually looking at him?
Side.
You've got it up here. I don't know where in the video.
That's the one, yeah.
But you can see it.
And that's after she's been stabbed.
She's been stabbed, and that's, I mean, that image. If we lived in a serious country, that image would be on the front page of every single newspaper tomorrow. It would be pushed on every social media platform. I mean, it's beyond her
beyond
being
murals,
Ukrainian. It is beyond her being.
She's a Ukrainian refugee. Every Democrat should have been like, "What is going on?"
Okay,
but we have to go to war because potentially some drones crossed in from Ukraine. We have to go to World War III. But when Zelensky hasn't said anything about her. Zelensky hasn't said a single word. I've not been able to find it.
It's one of his citizens.
That's one of his citizens who's been killed.
Who's been forced out of the country because of this war.
Well, and you know what's crazy is we had my wife, who's from Belarus, originally here on the show on Human Events earlier today, and she said that one of the pieces that, because she's been talking about this with her mom's group for weeks, and just said, why isn't this going? You know, prior to this, why is nobody talking?
Well, we actually have a larger. The photo is actually
there's the photo, yeah. And
because the video wasn't really.
She said, you know, the father. Speaking, this is going back to the war. Her father. So she was actually buried on, I think, August 27th, and so this is a while ago. So it took a while for this to come up
August 22nd that
because
she was killed.
right because the videos haven't come out yet, and she was saying that her own father wasn't able to come for the funeral because of martial law in Ukraine, and military-age men can't come. And I said, well, wait a minute. She was 23. How old's the dad? In his 50s.
So I have a question for you guys, because there's been a lot of criticism online of her for two reasons.
Excuse me?
Oh, yes, that's right. She's seen in a photo in a room with a BLM poster. Now, fact checkers say it's not her bedroom. It's another friend or family member's.
Right.
And the argument that people are putting forward is she is still in this political space that is allowed for and encouraged this behavior. I think that's ridiculous. I mean,
so she should die?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Because my argument is this. Literally every day conservatives are begging liberals not to hurt themselves. They're like desperately telling them not to get abortions or sterilize their kids, trying to help them live better. The argument that because she has a BLM poster in her bedroom is the antithesis of what conservatives or the right has been arguing the whole time, which is, we know you're wrong. We're trying to help you be right so you don't get hurt.
But it's that particular argument, which is why, from my perspective, I completely throw all of the blame on all of the individuals on that car who watched. According to the photos, we see they watched that happen. There's reports that the blood was dripping off of the knife as soon as he pulled it out of her and starts walking away.
Oh, yeah.
No one goes to her at all. But this is the same crew. I guarantee if you did a little NBC poll, little panel said, how many of you would help someone if there was a fire? They think they're all heroes. They think they're wonderful because they affirm all of this garbage.
Man.
And yet they wouldn't come to the aid of anyone.
Now, there's another area of criticism, and that is there's another camera angle, which is I guess it's the wider view where you can see her on the left. And people are pointing out there are empty seats with the back to the window around the door, that if she had walked in paying attention and sat away from this man,
right. But there's a lot of I know from New York subways, and on New York subways, you don't want to sit by the door because people
steal from you.
When you stop, people come in the door, steal from you, and then go running. So you tend to want to sit in seats that are further back.
I guess.
Now, this guy, maybe he didn't look crazy to her. Maybe he was just sitting there quietly or whatever before this all happened, and so she sat down. You tend not to want to sit near people who are crazy but we don't know what was happening right before.
So well, actually, we do. There is a longer video where he's just sitting there,
He's
and
just
then
sitting
she
there,
comes
right.
in, and she comes in, and she sits down. Something else that Tanya had mentioned, my wife, who's from Eastern Europe, had mentioned was that when you're a new immigrant to the United States, especially from Eastern Europe, you don't know all of these sort of
Cultural cues.
rules and cues that America has because it's just completely foreign to you. But what's something that's not foreign is riding the train. Because in Eastern Europe, everybody rides the train.
Right.
Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, it is Poland. It is just very accessible. It's very easy. And most people don't even drive if they live in a big city. And crime like this just doesn't exist. It is not something you've ever encountered before in your life. So you wouldn't even, you're talking about situational awareness. She comes from a place where you don't need that.
Right.
And she assumed she was safe, and why assume otherwise?
She's on her phone.
In Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, I would assume I was safe in Charlotte, North Carolina.
The commentary.
No way.
I've never been there, so what do I know?
Oh, okay.
The posts, people are pointing out that, so Brian Stelter, I'm sure you guys saw, he said, the racism.
Yeah, he was calling it racist. He was saying that it was like politically motivated rhetoric talking about all of this.
There were posts where people were saying things like, back in the day, if you were walking down the street and a woman walking down the street, there's a black person towards her, she'd move her purse to the other side or she'd cross the street. But then in the past 10 years,
racists would do that.
Exactly. In the past 10 years, the BLM narrative mocked women who would move the purse to the side or cross the street. And I'm going to be honest, it's pretty brutal to just because you're a black guy, people are like, I don't trust you. That's a brutal way to live. But the point I'm making is that the rhetoric on X that I'm assuming this is what Brian Stelter is talking about. I wouldn't call it the most racist thing in the world. Is people saying if she held that distrust, she'd be alive.
Right.
And so what do you tell people when you see stories like this and you look at the crime data that was on Fox News just the other day? That Grok even confirmed that I posted from ChatGPT that interracial violence, black on white, is 26 times higher than white on black. My point is not to tell people to literally we don't want racism. We need to address the existing racism. And if this guy, it appears he says, I got that white girl, then I'll just put it like this. I was talking to Viva Fry earlier, and he said, you've got a guy who's clearly crazy. He's been in and out of jail, and he's been inundated with the message for 10 years that white people are evil. This is the racism. And then to advance the conversation from there, we'll talk about the Charlie Kirk Van Jones thing in a second.
It really reminded me of this old play by Amiri Baraka, who was Leroy Jones until he changed his name, this playwright out of Newark. And he wrote a play called Dutchman. I think it was in the 70s. And it was a play about... Yeah, well, you'll understand, you'll recognize it. So it takes place on a New York City subway, and it's a black guy riding the subway, and a white girl gets on, and she's sort of vaguely flirting with him. And the way that it's set up, you think that something bad is going to happen to her from this guy, but then she does she stab him to death or shoot him to death? She kills him. And so the idea is, don't trust your impulses. Don't trust the thing that you know. You're probably just racist.
Let me pull this story from the Post Millennial. CNN's Van Jones rails against Charlie Kirk for suggesting the murder of Irina Zarutska was racially motivated. The killer said, I got that white girl, after stabbing her to death. This is one of the most shockingly offensive things I've heard. Listen to this.
Be there.
And it's
about
difficult
forcing them to be there.
When you are mentally ill, you have a hard time knowing that you are mentally ill. But also, people like Charlie Kirk, they've been looking for opportunities to make this some sort of reciprocal George Floyd situation. And that's the part that I think he's almost giving away the game. And it's sad to see.
I'm really offended about this. Charlie Kirk, not Tim Pool, Phil, Jack Posobiec. Come on, we've all been talking about. I'm kidding.
A lot of people going along with it.
Let me just say a couple of things. One is, what happened to that young woman was horrible. And it's everybody's nightmare. If you're in any public space, a subway, whatever, that something bad is going to happen to you or somebody you care about. So it does strike a chord. We don't know why that man did what he did.
Yes, you do.
And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that.
Charlie was right.
It's just pure race mongering, hate mongering. It's wrong. Then he says that if something like that had happened the other way, there would be sweeping changes imposed on society. Where is the George Floyd Policing Act?
You see what he just did there? I'll tell you, it's where half of the police departments in this country were defunded to a certain extent.
Yep. And so he made it federal, but it's not about federal.
Exactly.
It's all of these local departments all over the country.
It was
that were defunded, and the police morale was destroyed, and
the
so
billions
that
of dollars
was
in damages.
Self-selecting out of
So
police.
can I? I mean,
yes, and the damages.
Charlie Kirk obviously didn't say anything wrong, but Van Jones, let's be skeptical. Where was that energy for George Floyd, Van Jones and Abby Phillips? Where was that energy of, hey, this is one situation and we need to investigate and we need an autopsy on what exactly was in his bloodstream and whether or not he had a heart tumor, or are we just going to brand all cops as racist?
Or how about this? Derek Chauvin arrived on scene and George Floyd was already on the ground. So by all means, you can say that Derek Chauvin was negligent. He should have checked on him. They should have got rendered aid much more quickly. It is not a story of a white supremacist cop who grabbed George Floyd, threw him on the ground, and then kneeled on him.
Who was half the size of George Floyd, by the way.
It's the story of a cop who showed up on scene after everything was already going on and saying, what's going on? And they're like, he's resisting.
Including cops who were not white.
Indeed. And then,
Who also got
he
locked up.
engaged in the kneel. He knelt on George Floyd and to hold him in submission. And again, by all means, make the argument that he was negligent. But where was there ever a racial component that people like Van Jones, CNN, and all the corporate press pushed for, which resulted in mass rioting, the worst riots we've seen in decades?
Oh, but see, but here's the catch. Here's what you guys are missing, that every time after one of these events occur, what you get is some guy like Van Jones that shows up dressed all nice and fine and looking like anyone else who goes on network television, and they start lecturing you in that soft Montel Williams voice that really the United States is really awful and terrible, and homeless people are twice as likely to be the victim of violence as the mayor of Charlotte said. And when someone looks like a thug and acts like a thug, that's not the person who comes to lecture you.
They are the racial equivalent of ambulance chasers.
Yes.
The whole point is they make money calling white people racists, saying that black people are oppressed. It's been going on, and it's all BS. It is all garbage. It's been going on since Ferguson, since Michael Brown with the whole hands up, don't shoot. That was a lie.
Since O.J. Simpson.
Trayvon Martin stuff, that was a lie. They made it out as if Zimmerman was a white guy. He wasn't a white guy. That was a lie. The stuff with George Floyd, that was a lie. And this has been an absolutely destructive force in the United States for over a decade, and we continue to tolerate it, and it is imbecilic that we allow people like the judge that let this guy free after
didn't have a law degree, by the way.
Yeah, that's
she owns a charity called Second
This
Chances,
is
though.
idiocy that we continue to allow this stuff. The fact that Perry was arrested is ridiculous. All the people in New York City,
Penny? Yeah,
Penny, yeah.
But he's
Daniel
right about
Penny?
Perry, too.
Yes.
Oh, hang on, though. Don't forget.
No, but
Perry from
those
Texas.
people, the people in the government in New York that actually did that, they should lose their jobs.
Well,
there
did
has
you
to be
guys see-
there has to be repercussions for the people that are empowering this. Those judges, the DAs, they have to lose their job. Possibly we have to change the law so that way if you do let a murderer free and he goes on to commit a crime, you share in legal responsibility and you go to jail. That will stop this stuff.
We can't do that.
You know, that's
Why not?
You can't.
Well, because we have to change the law. We can't do that. I understand.
Because that would result in literally everyone going to prison all the time.
Yeah, because there's a
Judge is
high,
gonna be like,
there's
I
a
don't
high
care.
rate of recidivism. There's
Yeah, he's
a
going to
high
say
rate.
literally every time, just
if
jail.
they're violent criminals, put them in jail.
Oh, violent criminals?
How many
No, sorry.
strikes?
But the point
strikes
is,
and he was still out.
and obviously 3 strikes and you're out is fine. But if you made the argument that a judge would be responsible for releasing somebody, he's going to be like, then I defer to not releasing anybody because I don't want
Right.
responsibility.
But the thing too that I thought was
Which would be
pretty
better?
crazy is you had
I disagree.
So
Which would be
listen.
better
So then
for society,
give it.
honestly.
So then
it would be better
one
if we had
strike.
real judges that actually did their jobs, that took it seriously, and we as a society held people accountable the way we used to, which is social pressure, shunning, ostracizing bad people, removing them from office.
This is a societal
when we
problem.
make special rules,
it's
like
because
when we get to the
destroyed
point
Christianity.
when we get to the point where we need the National Guard in Chicago, and I agree we do, as from someone from Chicago, we are in a very, very bad place.
Well, again,
when we get to the point where we're saying judges need to be held accountable for releasing criminals, we are already
Get rid of
facing
the point that I'm
apocalypse.
making is get rid of qualified immunity for police officers and get rid of qualified immunity.
Well, but now you
for
sound
judges.
like a leftist about the qualified immunity for police officers. You need qualified immunity for
Bro,
police
listen,
officers together so they can
if cops
do their arrest.
I'm not a fan. Okay, listen. I'm not a fan of qualified immunity, but understand the math. If a cop is told I face criminal liability or civil liability if I make an arrest, he won't do it. Okay, so when the criminal is brandishing the knife and he's going to be like, look, I don't want to get sued. I'm backing off.
No, but he also knows that at the end of the day, the worst he can get is a federally tax-funded timeout. The problem in this country is that we always talk about, oh man, we used to throw people in jail. We also used to have corporal punishment. Delaware is the last state that allows corporal punishment on the books.
That
there was a
explains
chance
Joe Biden.
you would end up at the end of a noose or the lash for things like drunk driving. Those are things that last. A federally funded timeout is not going to solve anything.
I agree. And I've made this point before, somewhat facetiously, that if in Chicago the penalty for this gang violence was they would, and it's meant to sound silly, but if you took these young men who are shooting each other up and said, when you get caught, we're going to put you in a diaper, a baby bonnet with a pacifier, and you've got to crawl straight down Roosevelt Avenue 10 miles while everyone films and posts it online, it would end the crime overnight.
So there's another aspect to this too, and everyone's bringing up, it's great discussion, but I think part of this too is, and Libby, you were getting at this, it's the stories we tell that start to shape the way that we think about policy, because the stories that we tell about our world are shape the way we think about the world and then think about how to fix the problems of the world.
Right.
And one story that we tell or have been telling for decades now is this complete lie that there is some kind of racial conspiracy to create a figment of black crime in America, when in reality, and you can see the statistics, you can see the data, that unfortunately we have a problem of mass violence against white people in this country that has gone completely unchecked and in some cases encouraged. And in every single case, you have people like Van Jones going on TV and making excuses for it. And it's disgusting. It is open season on white people in this country. It has been since the knockout game. It has been since White Girl Bleed a lot. And now you have the exact same things going on and on. And they used to say that when you put body cams out, that would catch police brutality.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
And now they're trying to get rid of body cams.
But I got to push back, Jack. It's not fair to say that only white people are victims. The Stop Asian Hate, the leftists dropped that hashtag when they realized it was
Where did that go?
It was black people attacking Asians.
Right.
And the knockout game in New York was predominantly black people attacking Jews.
Right. But it was. I mean, I'm
not trying to be mean.
We also saw
because they view them as white.
We also saw a young black woman.
Well, they were the Hasidic Jews wearing the big hats,
an illegal immigrant, and thrown off a bridge in Annapolis. Right. We saw that today too. That was a young black girl who was murdered by an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, but you guys are
Maryland.
forgetting.
And we also saw we saw an Alabama former veterinary professor who was murdered on a jogging trail while she was walking her dog. And we also, the thing too is that this mayor in Charlotte, this Vi Lyles, she was saying that we can't arrest our way out of mental health crisis. We can't arrest our way out of homelessness. And I think too much has been pinned on this mental health. Yeah, of course we can. And too much has been pinned on this idea that if someone is committing crimes, they have a mental health issue and we need to have compassion for them and their mental health issue. This guy was supposed to get a psych evaluation after he called 911 earlier this year and was arrested for wasting 911 resources because he said there was something man-made in his body that was controlling him. And he was arrested. They let him go, no cash bail, and he was supposed to get a psych evaluation that never happened. And now you have the mayor basically an apologist for this lunatic who should have stayed locked up, right? In 2020 when he was released, he assaulted his sister.
There's a scene in the Joker, the not Joker 2, which doesn't exist, but in the good Joker film, where, do you remember, I think he's going to visit his mom in the mental institution, is that right? And he's visiting there, and he goes down. This gets back to the bureaucracy thing that that Phil and I were just talking about, where he goes in and he's talking to the receptionist at the mental facility, and he kind of realizes that something's going wrong with him. This is before he dons the full Joker attire, and he says, "How do I get into one of these places?" And the receptionist there is like, "I don't know. I don't even know how you would get in," because and that to me, I thought that resonated. My dad used to work in a mental institution for almost 30 years. And I remember in the 90s when they were shutting everything down, asking him, "Well, Dad, where are they going to put all the crazy people?" And he said, "Well, they call it graduating." Mm-hmm. They just call it graduating. And they're out.
I want to pull up this video. It's gone viral. I believe it's from someone by the name of Miranda Jewell. That's what it says in the video, but I just want to play it for you and then we'll talk about it.
I don't even know what to say at this point. I had to get off the train past my stop because there was a guy who was following me from car to car. And when I tried to get off at my stop, which was pitch dark, he held it open to see if I was going to get off. So I had to get off the stop after. And then when I got off the stop after, I hopped on the next train that was going the other direction. And I got on an express train. And now I'm back on the other side of the tracks. Hold on. New York City is not safe. It's not safe for women, okay? I am so sick and tired of having to look over my shoulder 24/7, not just at night, during the day, at all hours. I'm sick and tired of it.
Who do you think she voted for?
Oh, I'm sure she voted for Mom Donnie, right?
There is a 75% chance she votes liberal. And I'm not trying to disparage her or claim that is what she's doing. But women around her age, key demo age in New York, some 70, I think it's 80 or 90 actually percent female, vote for the Democratic candidates who then appoint a police chief who says soft on crime. And then they appoint judges, soft on crime. So she is arguing for, and it's not about her as an individual, but this is what people in New York voted for.
And this is, a lot of this is leading to this, what I call the rise of the urban right.
Mm-hmm.
And
which we need more of that.
This is a different
Alvin Bragg is horrifying.
Pipeline, a different path from the rural right, which most people, everyone knows the rural right. Everyone gets that. We're conserving our small towns. We're conserving our culture. We care about the farms. Everybody gets it. Everybody loves it. Cowboy hats, pickup trucks. Everybody gets that. That's the sort of stereotypical Republican viewpoint. The urban right is a little bit different. The urban right is way more radical. The urban right is a reactionary force because you're reacting to your home and your livelihood that's been stolen in front of your own eyes. And there's so many people now in the new right that are actually part of this urban right, including, by the way, Donald Trump himself, a Fifth Avenue billionaire who came down a golden escalator and was talking about this stuff has gotten completely out of control. People forget, by the way, that when he announced he was running for president, it was right, I think it was either right in the middle or right after the Freddie Gray riots in Baltimore that were going on at the time, where he has actually said publicly that Melania Trump watching those riots and watching Baltimore just be burned to the, I was there, was watching it be burned to the ground. It's one of my first live stream riots, yay. That she said to Trump, he said, you have to do it. This is your time. And so the urban right is this, you come to politics from a completely different perspective than the rural right. Your focus is going to be different. And you think about it, right? Stephen Miller, where is he from? Santa Monica.
Right.
Right? He's not from, bless you, he's not from a place that is normally associated with the left.
Neither am I. I mean, I grew up in
and you look, a lot of us
Philly,
are from city
and
areas.
New York, and it's like,
Tim, you're a Chicago guy.
You know, none of that's what I'm. I was raised to be an abortion-loving liberal, and there, first of all, they showed us the video of an abortion when I was in 8th grade in CCD, and so I was never pro-choice ever, but thank you, Catholic Church. But these cities are also being really damaged by left-wing foundations. Like the MacArthur Foundation gave $3.3 million to the county that Charlotte is in, Mecklenburg County, to reduce their jail population. And you have Mom Donnie now in New York saying that he wants to reduce the population of Rikers Island.
100 days is too long to be in Rikers. Didn't mention the type of crime that would be committed. And just as
he didn't mention what's going on with their trials.
No.
I mean, it's not too long if you're actually going through the justice system. And these justice systems, like, does it take a while to get a trial? Yeah. Would it be better if we had faster trials? Sure, because then we could get you into maximum security faster.
So this is why it pushes people into the urban right, because you're someone who's you're not anti-city. Right?
No, I love cities.
Because you view cities as the beating heart of culture. This is where our economy runs. This is where all new culture comes out of. This is the height of civilization.
Art, music, restaurants.
All of it. it's the city. President Trump is out now showcasing how safe Washington, D.C. is by going out for seafood right around the corner from the White House. And so if you're a member of the urban right, which I've started talking about this publicly a couple of weeks ago, I've sort of had it rattling around for a while. I've discussed it with a few folks that are currently serving in our government and doing a fantastic job of it. And if I found it resonates a lot with a lot of people, because you just come to conservatism through a very different path, because you've seen your towns and your neighborhoods destroyed, and you've seen it turned over to crime, you've seen it turned over to violence, to migrants, both legal and illegal, these massive demographic shifts that we've been seeing, and you're like, I just want my home back. Who do I vote for to get that?
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's all come from from the rural conservative, kind of the more classic from eastern central Indiana. What we see in common with a lot of the urban right all comes down to the revivification of the traditional man, masculinity, this feminization that brought in socialism in this country by making you feel bad. There are people who are poor who you need to give your money to. And then over the racism issue, well, there are people who are black and you need to give your money to them. And then the LGBTQ, there are people who are gay, you got to give them money. Additionally, that kind of hyperfeminization has driven people in urban centers where college-educated white women are most likely to find their happy place. That's where families kind of circled around during the 70s through the 90s. Well, now people are tired of it because they've seen the effect of a fatherlessness across every community in this country. The traditional man actually coming back is going to be a core part of the right in the next 30 years. That's why Vance and Trump, urban and rural right, are so alike in kind of their family orient policy prescriptions.
Yeah, or the man of today is the guy who's too scared to stand up to a tiny woman who's yelling at him.
Does the
give him her baseball?
Oh no!
And
he does the arm thing.
He does the arm thing even before he realizes who it is. That's his initial response, which is a very. I mean, I don't know if that guy's got a touch of something or what, but he doesn't seem to, and he just seems very scared of his skin. And that is the modern American male, a ma'am. That is the modern American male is terrified to stand up to a woman, and that is a great microcosm of how we lost our great cities, how we lost our culture, the decline of the West, because we're I just wanted to go away, I just wanted to stop. So you take the ball from your child
on his birthday,
the home run ball. What greater ball? And you watch the video of this. I'm like, do people not have kids? My son would not care if I'm giving him money, if I'm saying, hey, I'm going to get better tickets. He wants the home run ball. And it's like, Dad, why did you take the ball from me? Why would you ever do that?
What song you sing to this lady when you're at a baseball game, right?
Take me out to the ball game. Hey, goodbye, Karen.
Yep. He walks over a few seats. The ball was flying towards there. He gets it. It's his.
That's a fair ball.
It was totally a fair ball.
For a minute, though, Tim, there's
she never had her hands on it.
Well, she may have touched it a little bit.
She didn't have her hands on it. It was down in front of her. It wasn't even in her seats. It was the seats in front of her.
So there's always as a guy who grew up with my dad taking me countless Phillies games. Never had a situation like this where he gave away one of our balls. Like we would go outside, even just in local areas. If there was a high school game, we would go out to the river after the game to collect foul balls from the river because it was cheaper than going out and buying them. And that was just something we did on Saturday mornings with me, my brother, and my dad. We would ride the bike, go down the river. There was a game, get the foul balls, dry them out, boom, got some practice balls. And he never once would say, oh, we're gonna hand it over, we're gonna do this. No, it was when he was older, he would get it, and then we would go get it. He'd be like, go get it. And if you don't get it, it's, hey, be faster next time.
I actually think his son may have learned a really good lesson.
Don't be like Dad.
Yeah, when you look at this photo and you can see him looking angrily at the old lady and this guy looking terrified and shocked and taking the ball from his own son, that kid's gonna grow up and be like, when he has a kid, don't be like that.
He's this. I mean, if you look at the trajectory of some of the youth polls right now, there's a very good chance that he's going to be like very radical.
What if like
this
kid is
sad.
just like
this is his moment of realizing my dad's not a hero, and you always realize that at some point, like my dad's not a hero, my dad's not, you know, infallible or whatever. You realize your parents are human beings, and he had to realize it way sooner
my
than
dad
he had
is
to.
literally my hero.
Okay, I believe you, Jack, but you're a special case.
But I don't even
The rest
think
of us learned that our
this
parents
kid's gonna
are
grow up and
human.
be like the furthest right commentators.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, well, did you see the interview with him afterwards?
Oh yeah, I got it
it's
pulled
so
up.
sad.
If you have it, yeah, let's play that because it's so sad, but at the same time, it's
That
so
was
telling.
what we were there for. We were there to get a home run ball. So I thought I had accomplished
Even his
this great
body
thing.
Look at
and
the body language. It's all you
putting in
need.
his glove meant a lot, and she was just so adamant and loud.
It was
and
29
yelling and
seconds.
persistent.
None of
and
them can even
I just
look at
didn't
him in
wanna
the
deal
eye.
with it anymore. You know,
he can't
Those
even say she was mean.
hundreds of people.
She barely said anything. Said that's my ball.
She was adamant.
Does that son
and
look like he won?
loud. No.
No.
not at all. Again, and that's the catch is that I couldn't imagine, forget, you know, whether or not like my, you know, I would consider, you know, my dad to be like my hero kind of a thing. I can't imagine as a father taking, not my kid offered the ball and said, all right, they can have it, and saying, you know what? No, my kid deserves the ball. They got it. He took the ball from his kid's hands
And he knows
and
he
gave
did.
it to
He
her.
knows what he did. Look at his face.
And
Look
the
at his
kid
face.
knows.
He knows what he did. And the line that the kid said was, "This is so amazing."
Emasculated cuck.
He said,
Sorry, go ahead.
he said, "We can't win.
Can't win.
She was going to get it anyway."
Why?
I don't know why she was going to get it anyway.
That's the lesson that
I
his
thought
father
she,
taught him.
you know, she
Give up,
just-
son.
Yeah,
Give
it
up.
was really
Lose.
really
Lose and accept
devastating.
the participation trophy of here's a signed
Of
bat.
the
We
pity
feel so
stuff.
bad for you. The pity
Yeah, the
stuff.
pity stuff. Who
It's all
wants the
stuff.
pity
No,
stuff?
you want to win.
Yeah.
Right? You want to teach kids to win. It's not about baseball. It is about raising the next generation. It is about how we run our society. It is about the millions of
about
interactions
All
that
come
go
back to
on.
responsible men.
All the millions of interactions where some screaming liberal Karen is getting in somebody's face and a guy is terrified to just say no. And I'm sorry, but the word no is the most masculine word in the English language because we are not going to get out of any of these situations if we just can't say no to women.
Well, and you have to, and the other thing too that everybody forgets is you have all these women who, you know, are all empowered and they're living in their power and they're
Yes,
doing all this. Yes, queen, all of this, right? But what you forget is the way that these women got like this is by being so amiable and bendable that they say yes to everything stupid. And that's how they got there. Like, well, how do you think men ended up in women's bathrooms? It's because women were too nice and cowed to say no.
And men were.
And men were, but men got coerced by these.
So Libby,
You don't-
what I'm
bunch
trying to
of
say,
simps.
what I'm trying to say, maybe
You
is
need
that
less
women,
agreeable
maybe
women.
women need to hear men when we say no means no.
You think so?
I think what's happening is like this woman in New York on the subway is guys basically like men like this who are like, she was going to get it anyway. I'm just leaving. Men are just leaving. And women are left to what they voted for, and they're upset with it.
And they're not going to help you on the
MGTOW,
subway.
right?
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's at least the acronym.
I'm just saying,
men go
like,
their own way.
in New York, the women are screaming, and so the guys are like, whatever, I'm leaving. And then they get the city they vote for, and now they live in crime-infested areas where...
And the women also
you
in
know-
New York, the women in New York also complain that they can't get a date.
You know what the tropes were? The man would take his jacket off and throw it over the puddle so the woman could walk over without getting wet.
Right.
The man's jacket would be ruined.
Right.
But then you started getting all of these feminist tropes of don't hold the door for me, split the bill, we don't want men involved. And what they did, what these feminists were basically saying is the chivalry they were discussing wasn't just a man opening the door or saying, I'll pay for your food. It was them saying, I will stand in front of you when the violent, murderous rapist is coming at us.
Well, but that's also
Now
part
they're saying, it's all you, bro.
I mean, that's also part of the free market of sex, though, because we stopped making the relationship between men and women about something that was supposed to involve responsibility and specific duty. And you started saying, hey, man, I mean, you know, does it involve me getting laid? And then when you start leading a man by the wang, he'll do whatever. Again, these simp catastrophe in this country.
Yeah.
By the way, later on in that video, the guy said,
catastrophe. That's
well,
good.
I didn't want to do anything that I would regret in front of my children. You didn't regret how you ended up acting in front of your children? Are you
That's
serious?
the whole thing to regret is
I
you
think
were
he
doing
regrets
acting
it.
like that in front of your children, not standing up for yourself, not standing up for your kids, not acting like a man. That is the most regrettable thing about this whole story.
I got to be honest. Between this and the Coldplay couple, this is more worthy of divorce.
Well, because I mean, he's showing everyone that he can't take care of his kids.
He's busy grabbing his man breasts.
If you actually watch the video of the initial interaction, I don't believe the woman has been identified yet, which is
People are claiming she has been.
Which is really weird because people were claiming that she had, but then like those women came out, and because she's so odious, those women even came out and released statements. I am not this woman. Like, please stop coming after me.
Maybe if you guys all didn't look the same. I'm sorry.
I gotta be honest, guys. I think
it's the daughter. If you watch, the daughter actually kind of squares up a little bit. The daughter shows more dominance than the dad does. More tea. The daughter.
I'm gonna say this.
Maybe she does.
Between the two people, I have more disdain for the dad than the woman.
100%.
The woman was like, hey, you walked over to where I was sitting and took the home run ball from me. Now, I don't think she has an actual right to claim that, and I think she's a snooty Karen. But
a hit ball is a hit ball.
But I'm just like, she walked over and made a demand, and I give that like, in terms of how severe I think it is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being like this person is committing a violent murder, it's like a 2 or a 3. It's like someone pushes you. It's like, okay, you don't need to. It's not the end of the world. I don't care that much that she's being a Karen. I am actually more offended the dad took the baseball from his own son and gave it to her.
So I agree with you guys that that's terrible, but I have the utmost disdain and horror at this woman, because one thing that she's doing that you guys may not realize is she's perpetuating the middle-aged white women suck thing. And I'm so sick of that, as somebody of that age group, I'm like really sick of that whole thing. And it's just awful. And also her husband was there and he was sitting in his seat. He was like crouching down so that he wasn't being recognized.
I try not to.
And then he tried to like get out. He like scurried out and she followed him out. But imagine having to go home with this horrible shrew, shrill, miserable.
I disagree. I disagree.
I think she's terrible.
Listen.
Yeah.
I think everything about her is
the
bad.
husband of this guy. I bet he's very happy. You know why?
The husband of this guy?
Of this lady. Sorry.
Yeah.
I bet he's very happy. You know why?
She wasn't yelling at him?
No. Because
For once, right?
Because he got the ball. Because he's sitting in his car and they go to a fast food restaurant and they forget the ketchup. And then he's like, I really wanted ketchup. But she goes, I will not stand for this. And he goes, I don't got to do nothing. And then he sits back and she goes and takes care of it.
That sounds like hell.
That was a John Mulaney sketch. He would talk about how he was a weak man and he's like, I have a wife and my wife won't let me be mistreated. And I was like, dude, you are like the most pathetic cuck of a man out here doing a comedy routine on it. Are you okay? Blink twice.
I'm just so sick of women like this.
Disgusting.
I'm so sick of it.
What this guy does is disgusting. It's not Christian, and I saw a lot of people, arguing with me that this is some kind of Christian response. I mean, where does it say anywhere in the Bible that you're supposed to disrespect your own children?
As the Baptist, I'll back you up, my Catholic man. I hear you.
I mean, it's just not there. And
to play devil's advocate, what about de-escalation?
So de-escalation means like when you're about to die, or
not at the expense of your children.
And you don't have you can de-escalate this. And by the way, there are plenty of ways to de-escalate without submitting. Mm-hmm. De-escalation doesn't mean submitting. It doesn't mean surrender. De-escalate could simply mean you sit down and you, as Jesus actually tells us, turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek does not mean
let her scream at you while you're like, no.
Yeah, turn the other cheek does not mean submit. It means stand your ground.
Hey,
and
goodbye.
A lot of people miss this wrong. Yeah, you sing, you do the look at your watch thing.
And everybody around was like, can you believe this woman?
And you just sit there. And by the way, social pressure was already on his side.
It sure was.
Which he just
bingo.
Have you guys seen
situational awareness?
Have you guys seen that show Evil?
No.
It's woke. It's kind of weird.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, but there's a scene where the main character's woman is with her husband and they're in line at a grocery store when someone cuts in front of her. And she goes, excuse me, we're waiting in line. And he's like, I've only got a few things. She's like, no, you don't. You have more than we do. So get in the back of the line. And he's like, what are you going to do about it? And then her husband's like, just ignore it. Just let it go. So she goes to a freezer, grabs a bag of peas, walks up and goes, hey. And he goes, hey, lady, it's over. I won. And then she bashes him in the face with it.
With peas?
A frozen bag of vegetables. And he hits the ground. And then she walks
peas
up.
Wouldn't do it.
And she's like, I don't know. It's some bag of vegetables. Okay. She goes, we don't need a bag. But the funny thing is, whatever your view on that show, it's funny that the depiction is the man would not stand up for his wife, and so the wife had to do it herself. And it's very funny that I feel like there's a large portion of men in this generation that are very much like that. Now, Gen Z is starting to turn things around, but these urban liberal guys are very much the low T. Remember the Try guys from BuzzFeed?
Yeah. I'm torn.
Their testosterone was 20-year-old guys with testosterone equal to an 80-year-old.
I'm torn on that kind of stuff because I carry a gun and I'm not going to shoot someone over a space in line.
Not with that attitude.
But the point is, like, if I go and actually try and push this guy out or something like that, that's me not de-escalating.
You know, look, I was in line at a 7-Eleven a long time ago. I was in Seattle, and I had like probably, I don't know, $5 or $6 worth of stuff. And there was like 4 people in line. A guy walked in front of me, and I immediately was like, hey, bro, back of the line's that way. And he's like, I'll be quick. And I was like, I looked at the cashier, and I was like, nah. He just cut the line. And they were like, it's fine. I was like, no, it's not. I threw everything on the counter. I walked out. I'm not going to get into a fight with them, but I'm not playing that game.
All you got to do is just look at the
line
individual.
cutters. That
This
drives me
is how the
insane.
urban right gets born. Because when you when you live in a city, there is an unwritten set of rules that everybody follows, like when you're in trains, like when you're in line, anything like this, that everybody follows, that everybody kind of gets, that, hey, if we obey these rules and we sort of live this way, and maybe there's some sharp elbows or like a New Yorker is going to say something, but, Philly too, by the way, but you all sort of abide by those rules so that you can live together.
The social standard.
In the city. This is your social standard. Mamdani, one of the videos that really drove me nuts about him was, it's one of the ones, it's not just the one where he's eating with his hands, as disgusting and alien as that is. That's the real aliens, by the way. It's the fact that he's doing it on the subway. Because one of the rules of the subway is you don't eat open food like that.
No, you
especially
don't.
if it smells.
It's
like
gross.
that stuff does.
And
so if this guy can't even follow, it goes back to broken windows. If he can't even follow the basic low-level social taboos to maintain the social order, how could he ever possibly be in charge of the entire city? There's no
he's
way.
probably cool with turnstile jumping too, which is, again...
Which, by the way, would have prevented the murder of Irina Zarutska because the guy was a turnstile jumper.
And you heard what the city council said about this. So we did a dive on what...
After they cut their cake. And
yeah, that's the thing. So there's this NPR reporter of all people that's covering the event, and he's like posting all of these things that are going on, or maybe it was the Channel 9 reporter, my producer's from Charlotte. So when we're looking at these coverages, they go to a little cake break. They come back and address the murder for like 2 minutes, and then about 20 minutes later, they start having conversations about, well, what in the future can we do to equitize the safety standard? Corporate speak. Yeah, all that kind of garbage.
Were they really eating cake?
Oh yeah, a chocolate with white frosting. Oh yeah,
What the hell?
And it's a cheap bundt cake too.
Yeah, it was a bundt cake, right?
Yeah.
You mean like a
for
little
someone's
grocery
birthday.
store cake?
Yeah.
Oh,
A council.
Before we talk about the
birthday.
woman brutally murdered by a man that was released from jail several times, let's have some cake.
First, from Marie Antoinette's classics. But no, so they get to the end of this council meeting, and they ask, well, what if we closed off, like put some fences up and closed off the train stations so that only people who paid the fare could ride? Because he not only jumped the turnstile, he also didn't pay a fare on his bus to the train station. Wow. So they talk about bus fare, then they get to the
in
train
New York,
section.
that'd be okay because Mom Donnie's going to make the buses free.
And that's when the head of the CATS train system says, well, we don't want to put fences up because I have, and I quote, equity concerns, end quote.
Such bullshit.
But it is. But
Real quick,
trash.
I lived in New York. You lived in New York. Has anyone else here lived in New York? Anybody? My favorite thing was when because I lived in Williamsburg, when the L went down for maintenance.
That was never good.
And it just ended our ability to exist in New York because it's like...
Because you weren't going to hike to the G.
Yeah, exactly. There's no trains. It's if there's no L, and they were like, well, it's falling apart, so we have to shut it down. And then it was like, I guess I'll die. There's there's no grocery stores.
You wouldn't go across the Williamsburg Bridge?
You
right over to Lower East Side?
I'm kidding, obviously, but for like commutes to work, you need to take the train.
You do.
Because you transfer from the L to, at Q
Anywhere
or
else
whatever.
on the 14th.
Yeah, so now you're riding your bike over the bridge. It was just impractical. And the train system in New York is totally broken. Mm-hmm. It is gradually falling apart. It was like flooding under the river in
Signals
some
are like
place.
100 years old, some of the
it's one of the oldest subway systems in the world.
And now
London's the only one that's older.
Mamdani says, don't worry, it'll be free. It's like, oh, that's going to be great. Who are you going to enslave to fix it?
Yes, he will have to enslave people to fix it, and he talks about how
Honduran farmers, maybe.
how his
there you go.
right. He talks about how he was asked recently in an interview what he was going to do about the millionaires leaving the city and taking their corporations with them, and he was like, "I'm going to show them how this is going to make a better quality of life for them too. They already have a great quality of life. They don't need more garbage from you. They don't need more homeless, crazy people wandering around where they can see them. They don't need any of that. You know, they don't need congestion pricing either. They don't need any of that. Their lifestyle was great under Bloomberg, when everybody's lifestyle was actually pretty great. I mean, even East New York was coming up under Bloomberg, and then de Blasio got in and destroyed it. Adams was like this, Band-Aid trying to fix things. He came in with like a tough on crime policy. He tried. He, took some free Turkish air flights.
So here's the thing is and we can point directly to LA for this, but it's in so many of these major cities that so Karen Bass, for example, was an actual member of a revolutionary communist organization when she was younger in a battalion that was funded and actually financed and paid for and controlled by the Cuban Marxist Party. So she was an actual revolutionary communist.
Politically sponsored.
Politically sponsored. When revolutionary communists take over these areas, the urban elite, they use the release of violent prisoners as a way to keep the populace in line, to keep the middle class in line from revolting or doing anything. And who do they go after? They go after the Daniel Pennies. They go after the people who try to rise up and do something about that because they want to try to find out where the ne'er-do-wells or where the people who might be against them are coming. And they use this as a pressure release to find out who those people, they imply pressure to see what gets released. And so the idea that all of this is just happening because, these are the unintended consequences of good intentions. No, they aren't at all. This is entirely intended. The point of a system is what it does. They want the violence. It is terrorism against the American people, a form of it known as anarcho-tyranny.
I want to jump to this story. We got this video from Johnny MAGA. Holy smokes. Trump just stared down Free Palestine protesters who called him the Hitler of our time.
Let's go.
In a D.C. restaurant. Check this out.
Happy to see you. Enjoy your dinner. Thank
Idiot.
Clown shoes.
What?
Trump's walking to him. He's walking over to him.
Trump? Where's Trump?
He's walking right to him.
Oh, yeah. That's our guy.
Wow. He's pointing at him.
She's holding the flag backwards.
So what's funny about this is that
They don't know.
we've got this tweet from Nick Sorter who
there's a
said,
difference
breaking,
It's like when
President
Randy
Trump has
Weingarten
just
held the-
unexpectedly put the White House press pool in a motorcade. POTUS is on the move, destination unknown.
This is earlier.
To prove that D.C. is safe, he loaded up the press and brought them to a restaurant where this went down.
So, by the way, this is just my initial reaction. This is the exact opposite of what we saw at the Phillies game. This is a man. This is a man who refused to back down.
Yep.
This is a man who saw the tiny women screaming in his face, and he walked directly over to them and
Pointed at him.
He points at him a little bit, and just knowing the president as much as we do at this point, I got to imagine he probably had a smirk on his face when he did that, and probably gave them a little wave and sat down. So yes, there are ways to de-escalate without submitting. You stand your ground. You turn the other cheek. That's exactly what he did.
So as the vice president's doppelganger, I'm just going to jump in rather quickly here and say that this really comes back to that emasculated man point and also to Mom Donnie. The opposite of Trump in this situation, you will see David French or some other columnist in the weak men category look at this story and say, the writing's on the wall. The Free Palestine people, they've found Trump. They've surrounded the poor dictator. And at the same time, the weak men are the last guys to actually realize it's all over. They're the last guys. Mom Donnie's proposing these ideas. They're not popular. Phil, we've talked about this before. The weak men are the last ones to find out that, like you said, Jack, the rest of the baseball stadium was against that Karen. The rest of the restaurants against these Free Palestine protesters. They don't get it. America has left that crap behind.
Yeah, and I think that I think you're right. I don't know how long it's going to take the actual you know, the people that would go and do this to actually recognize it. I think there's probably a portion of the activist class that won't ever realize it. But the more people ignore them and start shouting them down and mock them, the better it is for the rest of society.
Funny you mentioned that, because my dad is actually texting in the family chat right now. No, he is not watching the show. He is watching the Phillies game, of course.
What a man! Let's go.
That's my dad. He doesn't miss Phillies games. He doesn't miss Phillies games, or when the Eagles are on, he doesn't miss Eagles. And he says people are now imitating the Philly Karen every time they catch a foul ball. That's awesome game. So she is being mocked very derisively.
How many people are going to dress up like Phillies Karen for Halloween?
Oh wait, hold on.
As many as the Coldplay cheating couple?
Yeah.
I would do that.
It's going to be. Oh, something happened. What's this?
Poland.
I don't know.
Poland.
Phone.
It might be.
I don't think there's anything going on in Poland.
I would dress up as the Phillies.
They've
Karen
reopened
for
some of the
Halloween.
airports, by the way.
I think they should start. I think they should start selling that wig, you know, with the little the black underneath and the gray top.
But that's so many of them, though.
Every Spirit Halloween is going to have these ready to go.
I think they should.
Okay, what's the generic name they give to
baseball
Karen?
Baseball Karen.
Baseball
You
Karen.
can't say Phillies.
No.
Phillies is copyrighted.
Oh, it is, but she's wearing a Phillies jersey.
Baseball Karen.
Baseball Karen.
Yep.
That's
because
not bad.
that's already how I searched for it, and like that's how I found the story.
You found it by Baseball Karen.
That's what people were saying on Twitter. X, sorry, Elon.
I think we were calling it Phillies Karen, but I like the Phillies. You know,
Baseball Karen.
You gotta like the Phils.
Yeah,
It's gonna weep and
we
say
never
gold
we never
cards.
came up with a name for a weak guy though. You know, everyone's like, what's the male version of a
I
Karen?
can say it. It's just not politically appropriate.
Well, people are saying Kyle.
A Kyle? I don't know.
No.
I don't see so.
No.
I don't think Kyle's it.
There isn't one.
No.
There's got to be a word for a guy who's weak and cuck.
Yeah, I was gonna say cuck, simp.
We already have words for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's what obviously with this video where Trump walks over to the protesters, it's why Trump wins.
Yeah, so I have a lot of respect for J.D. Vance just going at these protesters by ignoring them completely. And I think that's what we need to do as a culture. You know, we need to stop giving so much credence and airspace to these people who hate us and hate everything and really just want to be as destructive as possible.
I don't give a
Just
bleep
start
what you call it.
ignoring them.
You know
Ignore Greta Thunberg. We've been doing a good job of that lately. Ignore these stupid protesters who don't actually know anything about their history or what's going on.
I think that from an evolutionary standpoint, women are doing what they're supposed to be doing and have done, especially this Karen. The problem is that men have become weak. And we will be tested. And what's going to happen is liberals are not having kids. These weak men are, I mean, that guy has kids, obviously, but guys like that are just less likely to have kids. People on the right, these Gen Z guys who prioritize family are more likely to have kids, and conservatives have substantially more kids. So I think this is going to be a natural course correction over the next 2 or 3 generations.
Our church in the Midwest right now, where I'm from, is experiencing a baby boom. I've never seen anything like. First of all, we had
20 years is going to be great.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of kids at my church, too.
We had like a teen rally for kids over the weekend, and the preacher essentially gave kind of a testimony to the church and said he hasn't seen kids this invested in what was going on there in like 20, 30, 40 years. There's a major vibe.
Well,
shift.
it's funny. I was saying with that kid at the baseball game, he looks at his dad and his dad takes the ball from him. And I'm like, that kid got a great lesson about what not to be. And I feel like these kids that are coming to church now and they're invested, it's because they have access to the internet and they can see those go woke, not even once memes where it shows like an 18-year-old girl with like long red hair and smiling. And then it's like, 2 years into college, and she's morbidly obese with a shaved head and like weird tattoos all over her face.
Yeah, it's like Dare, but for transgender people.
Just woke in general. So it's like, not even once. Do we have a report? You've confirmed that Poland has been taken over by Russia?
No, it was the alien. It actually was aliens, as it turns out. Now, we were all wrong. It was aliens.
Do we know where they were from?
Although it was the Klingons. It was actually the Klingons. And no, that's the main thing is that this is a report out of Poland now where a good friend of mine, Dominik Czarczynski, is the only member of the Polish government now, and he's up publicly, and he's saying that we need to absolutely use caution when we look at all this stuff. He's been sending me a few messages as well as we've been talking. He's saying, who are these people that say that there's an attack going on? You need to wait. You need to figure out what's going on here. And
he's suggesting patience. Patience?
Right.
No. What?
But here's what's even crazier. So, the Polish parliament is actually controlled by the left right now, and he's saying that he can't even get as a member of European Parliament, he can't even get a statement out of the government of Poland about what's going on.
You serious?
Interesting.
That he can't even get a statement out of his own government.
That's interesting.
As to what's happening,
and that's because they're taking orders from somebody else.
I
Probably.
was ready to say you probably have to check with NATO on the official. Like, we haven't.
Are they asleep, etc.? So there's going to be a huge. I mean, obviously, this is going to have political repercussions in Poland.
Is he a ranking
This
member
actually sounds good, like good news.
MEP.
Oh, this actually sounds like good news because I would say there's a slight probability favors NATO does not want this to escalate, so they're keeping it tight because they would rather not go to war with Russia. If
they'd rather not, he says.
Yeah, I think right now they're like, this is not the moment. It's out of their control.
We would all generally rather not have nuclear war.
Indeed.
Yes.
Well, I don't trust that NATO doesn't want to go to war. You look at all these warmongers in these NATO nations that want to go to war.
I'm not saying that the politicians wouldn't necessarily. So I think that the political perspective is they want the constant threat of war to be there, and they want to use what the Western European nations want to use Vladimir Putin as a scapegoat for their own failures and their own inflation problems. And
like with the gas prices and stuff.
Yeah, the gas prices or the fact that the German industrial base is completely hollowed out. It's in a state of collapse right now. So German manufacturing exports are just crumbling. They're being destroyed because they no longer have the cheap energy inputs that they once enjoyed. And all of these France's government just collapsed yesterday, by the way.
Again.
Yeah.
And, the UK is pretty much headed for a civil war. Tommy's got his thing going on in a couple of days.
Saturday.
On Saturday.
It'll be
for
interesting.
that.
A lot of people going to be there.
Some rumors that a certain individual involved with X.com might be making an appearance. I don't know.
Interesting.
So
Really?
Here's some word on the street about that.
That doesn't surprise me considering this individual's statements about the UK and
But you never know.
Tommy and-
But yeah, I mean, nothing confirmed.
Yo, but let's be real. Like Graham Linehan is not a British citizen. He's Irish, and he made posts in America, and they arrested him in the UK. I mean, they will arrest Americans.
It's completely insane.
Remember that police chief saying like, "We'll try to extradite Americans for naughty words."
And I was
ridiculous.
So I was flying
Craziness.
through Heathrow a couple of months
Oh,
ago.
I remember
now.
this. You were posting.
And I had this really long layover because I had to book my flights late. It's a really long story. The communists in Belgium had shut down all the airports because they were on strike. So I was like stuck in Europe. And so I end up at Heathrow and I say, oh, this is going to be fun. So I'm just going to test what I can tweet out. And I said, well, I know I'm not allowed to tweet certain things, but surely, Keir Starmer, you wouldn't have a problem with me tweeting Bible verses. Mm-hmm. And so I start tweeting Bible verses about how if you allow too many foreigners into your land, they will eventually take over you. They will eat all your crops. They will take over your house. And then, I said, that's doing pretty well. That's doing pretty well. And I said, but, since we're in the UK, let me try to tweet some things from a book that might be a little bit more familiar to you guys, the Quran. And so I went to the Quran and I found some choice verses out of there as well.
How'd that go?
Haven't been arrested yet, but then again, I also haven't been back
You
to the
haven't
UK.
been back to the UK,
Yes.
yeah.
But who are the guys that have actually come out in Britain to stop this? A bunch of dads in small towns who are now posting community watches because they don't want Britannistan to leach into their communities.
Well, and why
United
should they?
Kingdom.
Why should they want
the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Irelandistan?
that? Right. Yeah. Why would they?
Yeah,
want
it's like there's that meme, not meme, but there's that statement. It's like, well, if it wasn't for the UK, we'd all be speaking German now. If it wasn't for what we've done, or we'd all be speaking. Yeah, but all these towns are speaking Arab now.
They
They're
sure
speaking
are.
Arabic.
And we've got a police
Which dialect?
force in the United States that's got the Arabic
Mostly
language on the
Yeah.
crest.
Egyptian
That was Dearborn.
is a big one.
There was a police badge with
Yeah,
Arabic
in
on
the
it
U.S., Dearborn, Michigan.
And then the chief was like, "No, it's not official. We're just looking at it."
Oh, that's always we're just
what it
moving
is.
the barrel.
That's
I mean,
always
come
what it
on,
is.
it's just
Yeah.
still Cracker Barrel, guys. Come on.
Well, they reversed course. Did you see that?
Yeah, no more remodels.
No more remodels.
Imagine being one of the
no more
managers who went in on the
logo.
remodel, and now you're sitting there wondering where all of the yard art for your walls went.
Yeah, you got to go get a thresher, put it back up on the wall.
We actually put out a request on the show. Oh, a thresher. They're pretty cool.
Are they
Sorry.
big? It's a little. It's big though. It doesn't fit on a wall.
No, they're not all the same. It's usually just parts, but they're like they had like the old soda and cigarette ads in metal,
I
like
like
on the
those,
walls.
yeah.
We reached out on the show when they were doing all the remodels. A couple of people reached out. They're sending us some. We're going to put them on set.
Oh,
So
nice.
from like some Cracker Barrel.
What was funny with like having taken Tanya there a couple of times, you know, she was pointing out like, you know, in the Soviet Union, we all had this stuff. You're like her grandmom's house would have that stuff, and you know her dad was raised using all that stuff. So you know, for her, it's kind of like a walk down memory lane. But you know, I saw a lot of people criticizing the Cracker Barrel thing, but it's like, no, actually, American culture, it turns out, can be whatever we say it is. And if we want that direct connection to American history that is reflected, yes, in a corporate culture, because people are saying, oh, well, Cracker Barrel was only around since 1969, so it's not really this old thing. No, shut up, you idiot, right? They are obviously referencing things from the 1800s, from the turn of the century,
Maybe
from
things
pioneer
in
times.
a small town, things you might try in a small town, Jason Aldean.
You know,
Perhaps.
And we want that. We want that connection to our history. We want that connection to our past.
Mary had a really funny idea. North Korean barbecue.
North Korean barbecue.
And the staff are all like wearing jumpsuits. And when you order like a pound of, you know, bulgogi, they come out with just like a quarter pound. And like, what do you mean? It's totally.
That's a pound.
That's a pound. That's what you get. And
it's not actually beef.
yeah, I think it'd be funny to do a communist restaurant.
1984.
That's a good one.
Pretty good, actually.
But I am a fan of Ukrainian wafer cake. Have you ever had that? I'm sure that.
I've seen that. It looks really good.
I'm sure they have similar things like this in Poland. The general premise is during the Soviet era, they were all broke. So cake, they would have milk and they'd have wafers. So they would just boil the milk down and then make sweetened condensed milk, and they would put it between wafers and call it cake. And it's just like a piece of caramel, basically. But it is actually funny. Maybe a lot of these young liberals would come to the socialist restaurant and we could just make fun of them because we treat it seriously. Be like, all right, what'd you like to order? And we're out of that. We're out of that too. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me give you we got to fix the menu, and you just scratch everything off the menu, and it's like, we have bread.
That'd be good for a season, just to like bring
like a Monty
unsuspecting
Python.
people into the restaurant. Oh, good Lord.
Crashing the joint.
I'm getting
North Korean barbecue, I think, is a really good idea. I think a Korean barbecue, North Korean barbecue themed restaurant would do really well. And I'm allowed to because my great-grandfather is from what is now North Korea. Whoa. We're going to go to your chat, so smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. That uncensored members-only portion of the show is coming up at 10 p.m. Rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Join Rumble Premium with promo code TIM10. You don't want to miss it. But if you join the Timcast Discord server while you're watching, you will get access to the members call-in, where you actually call into the show and talk to us, and you can tell me why I'm wrong about everything, and I will have to listen to you because you're a paying member. Timcast.com. Join us. Your support really does help. Let's read what you guys got to say. Shane H. Wilder says, I feel like we have finally crossed the Rubicon with the Irina Zarutska murder. I'm starting to see normies get pissed, not only at the repeat criminal, but also the fact that no one did ish to help. Agreed. Alpha 2 Omega says, howdy people, I'm surprised the guy in Greta's boat didn't start lazily wiggling a broom handle at the fire. With the Nepal news, do you think it will negatively affect Zoran Mamdani in New York? No. I do think one of the funniest videos I've ever seen is the fire on Greta's boat. Because it took the dude a minute and a half before he told the captain there was a fire, and he's running back and forth just saying, we've been hit. It's like, my dude, shut up, get the fire extinguisher, and put the fire out.
If I understand correctly,
You're on a boat.
It was their own flare that actually started the fire.
Wow.
Well, there's a video showing a fireball come down.
Yeah.
So did they fire a flare in the air and then it came down directly
I
onto their
thought
ship?
that's what happened.
This is something that happens in The Sims. Like The Sims starts a fire in the house and then runs back and forth. There's a fire here.
Yeah, indeed. I would be surprised if they staged it on purpose, because this is what leftists do. But I just want to stress how hilarious it is that instead of putting the fire out, he just ran back and forth yelling, we've been hit, over and over and over again. Captain, I'm here. We've been hit. No one does anything.
As the resident Navy guy, you know, a fire at sea is no joke. I mean, this obviously is something that has existed since the time of the age of sail. And when you're at sea, there's no 911, there's no let's call the fire department. You better figure out how to do that. You better figure out real quick.
When you were in the Navy, they trained you, if a fire breaks out on your ship, take your phone out, start filming, and run back and forth for 2 minutes yelling fire.
We do have to make sure you have but Tim, you have to make sure you have connection first.
Oh, right. So hold your phone up, looking for the surface.
Yes. So you've got to triangulate the satellites. Now at night, obviously you'd use the sextant too.
Indeed. Make sure you get it good and filmed so everyone can see.
Speaking of Thunberg, though, there are more views on the internet, not of this video regarding the Greta team boat, but of an AI picture enlarging her boobs the last week.
That's fake, though.
But that's the funny part of it,
right.
Like, that's just like people care more about fake Greta Thunberg boobs than about like the supposed fire at sea.
Didn't you see the Farquad picture of her?
She went from Farquad to Farbod, like boom.
Well, through AI.
Well,
Farquad picture was real.
Yes, big oof moment there.
Why did she get the Farquad haircut? Someone gave her bad advice.
Yeah, that's a terrible haircut.
I have no idea.
That haircut is so incredibly
She's like, I want
bad.
to look like Lord Farquaad from Shrek. And they were like, can do.
Why does she look like that?
Like He-Man.
You know,
Why would she do that?
She is. I think the greater question.
It's Lord Farquhar.
He-Man, yeah.
I think the greater question you're not asking is, why won't anyone deal with the fact that Israel is climate change and that the problem of climate change is Israel, as Greta Thunberg tells us?
You're saying the Jews are behind climate change?
That's what Greta Thunberg apparently is saying.
Gosh.
It would be funny if she just came out and actually said that.
If she just said it, yeah.
She probably thinks
they're like, why are you going to Israel? And she's like, because of climate change. But what about it?
She probably thinks that the Holocaust was bad because of carbon emissions.
It would be funny if she's like, the space lasers are heating up the atmosphere and causing global warming.
They control the weather, right? Isn't that the argument? The Jews control the weather?
Is that Greta's actual...
Oh, wait, right, yeah. That's,
I got to be honest.
Guys,
when the fire started, it was reported that one of the guys on the boat yelled, Israel did this.
Of course.
I wouldn't be surprised if Greta Thunberg genuinely believes that Jews are controlling the weather and that's why she's going there. Like, I'd be willing to bet if you asked her, she's going to believe a lot of weird things.
I just want to be in the room when Trump hears that for the first time. I don't know what the hell they're saying. Just like in the restaurant with the girl holding the Palestine flag backwards. I want to see that. Jews made the weather, like on the flag backwards.
All right, let's grab some more of these chats. We got J Dirt Biker. He says, off topic, but shotguns have a very short range with no chance of causing harm to anything more than 100 yards away. I'll just leave it at that.
100 yards is not short range.
That is incorrect.
Also, if it's a slug, there's a difference.
Yeah, that's incorrect.
And none of that
very,
stuff's
very
right.
Incorrect.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I've got a Remington 12 gauge with deer slugs, and it is accurate. Obviously, it's not like, if you have a rifle, you're going to be more accurate at longer ranges depending on the caliber or whatever. But that is wrong. That's video game logic.
Yeah, it is.
The video game logic is like within 10 feet, the shotgun becomes
pepper spray.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no. We went to
please go ahead and try. We
went to a range. I got a KSG 25, and we put in 25 buckshot. And my buddy just pump bang, just unloaded. It vaporized the wood frame of the target. Mm-hmm. And this was at 40 yards.
You see the same kind of video game thinking a lot in Ukraine, where they're just like, the U.S. should just give them more weapons. And you're like, what weapons? With what production process and what armament and what manufacturing?
Hey, the Ghost of Kyiv was on my spawn screen. I'm really excited about
They
it.
literally just think that weapons can spawn automatically anywhere. And when you walk them through that it's actually this very long supply chain, or like the Israel-Iran war and the idea that the Iron Dome just has unlimited firepower all the time. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. It's not how the real world works.
Liberty Den says the media's refusal to cover the majority of crimes committed by black people has allowed the infection of the criminal element in the black community to metastasize and destroy the black community. I largely agree. I think the problem is we saw this Gallup poll when they were defunding these police departments, and in the black communities, they were saying they needed more police. But these white uppity liberals were going around saying, no, they actually don't want that.
Yeah.
There's that famous book. It's called In Defense of Looting. I recommend you read about it. I wouldn't say read the book because it's nonsense. But these white liberals from Brooklyn argued that black people loot as a way to get back at white supremacy. And I'm like, the funny thing is the first article was written in Ferguson when the locals were desperately trying to stop the rioting. And it was people from outside of Ferguson going into Ferguson and rioting and burning things down.
Mm-hmm. Same as Kenosha.
Yep.
They're all up from Chicago.
I love that video of the white girls torching and vandalizing things during the riots, and the local black women are like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "We're doing this for you." And they're like, "Stop."
I disagree with the idea, though, that the media's amplification of crime is what led to the ultimate destruction. The destruction was already on the way. I mean, you had guys like Thomas Sowell calling this out decades ago. Fatherlessness was the poison seed that will kill any community, period. I mean, it's not like covering crime is going to be the death knell. It's just going to exacerbate it.
I think Democrats hate black people.
Well, they think they're stupid.
Well,
That's why they talk down to them.
What's funny, but I guess not that it's a pushback, but I think there's more data points that we need to look at. One of the things that I had tweeted earlier today is, now we've seen this video, as horrifying as it is. Now we know why they haven't released the Austin Metcalf video,
right,
where Carmelo Anthony stabs him. But the interesting thing, I mean, lots of interesting things about the Carmelo Anthony case, but one of the most fascinating ones, I think, was that his family did seem to be very intact. They were certainly upper middle class. His dad seemed to be very involved in his life, and yet he still fillets.
There are people. Listen,
cultural issue.
There are people that are just bad. Like there are, I don't believe in the blank slate at all. There are people that are heavily inclined to do evil things and do bad things. Like that's just obviously true.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't think that it breaks down by race, but it is true that there are people that are psychopaths that have no concern for other people's lives, no concern for the way that other people will feel things. They don't experience.
Well, and you could be a member of any race.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's racially based, but there are people like that. And so it's to make it an excuse of, oh well, this person just didn't have a father. No, it's that person is a bad person.
We can track stats, I think is what he said.
There is a simple thought experiment that breaks down the racial component in stories like this, where people are making comments saying like, well, maybe what is the comment people have been saying online? It's better to be racist than dead.
Right.
But I'm going to put it like this, and I'll ask you this question, Jack. You are walking down a street in New York at 2 a.m.
Let's go.
And
on that, it's usually Fifth Avenue when I'm looking up at Trump Tower.
And on the left side of the road, there's a black man.
Okay.
On the right side of the road is a white man.
Okay.
And you're like, I got to choose which side of the street I'm going to walk on. The black man is in his military uniform. He's a ranking officer. He's standing upright, and he's got a smile on his face. Mm-hmm. And the white guy on the right is scratching and shaking and holding needles.
Right.
Which side of the road do you want to walk on?
Which branch?
The point is there's very obviously like the people are making race-based comments saying like she shouldn't have sat next to a black guy or whatever. I'm like, dude, if I got on a train and I saw a black man wearing a suit sitting there and he gave me a little wave, I'm not going to think twice.
So here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say in response to that though is, and yes, obviously in that very peculiar scenario.
Black military officers.
Although, why is there a military officer smiling at you on Fifth Avenue?
It's smiling at you. I said he's standing on a street corner.
Maybe Trump has done his National Guard deployment to New York. Which, by the way, there were National Guard in New York for like a decade after 9/11. Armed M4s, M16s. You'd see them on the subway all the time.
They were on all the corners.
And everybody liked it.
We're all downtown.
Here's what I'll say, though. There is an element of truth to it where it is not racist that if you are someone like this, that you're just playing the odds and saying, you know what, I'm not going to sit in this car. I'm going to go over here. I don't think that's racist. I don't think it's racist at all. I think there's a difference between that and, say, discriminating against an individual. But if you are just walking down the street or trying to ride a public thoroughfare, it is not racist to say, you know what, I have a general understanding of how crime works in this country, and I'm going to avoid certain things.
This is my point. Racist. If you walk onto a subway train and you have a seat to your left and a seat to your right, and there is a black man in a suit with a briefcase, and he's like reading the Wall Street Journal, and you go, I ain't sitting by that guy because I'm scared. That's racist. Because that's an illogical assessment.
This is why they always trot out Van Jones to lecture
people. It's illogical, but it may be logical for you to say, well, I know there's going to be more crime from this car because it's filled with this type of people, and less crime from that car because it's filled with that type of people.
Okay, but if I'm on the subway and I see a group of teenagers, like I move to the other car.
Yeah, teenagers, great example.
Young men are more likely to commit violent crime of any race. My point is, The concerns that we should be having when we're discriminating, and I mean that in the broad sense, discriminating in any capacity, like taking the subway or taking a
circumspect behavior.
Yeah.
Every choice is discriminatory.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So when we are discerning what we will do as we enter a train, if you are literally going to choose to sit next to a white dude with patchy hair and like lesions who's shaking back and forth, because you don't want to sit next to a black businessman, that's a racist problem, and that's going to cause you harm in your long
But it's also just stupid.
I would rather, okay, like if you're talking about like a Southern Baptist black church, all right, I would rather be in that environment than I would rather be in a bar in the out like interstate Great Plains that biker gangs are known to visit. Seriously, there's a difference. The races are different than the common stereotype, but I would rather be among a bunch of people loudly praise and worship and wearing suits than guys in rough clothing acting stupid.
I think it's the stats don't lie. The stats still don't lie about where the actual race-based violence comes from.
And I agree.
And the stats don't lie.
And I agree. And we've talked about it in terms of Chicago. I was telling my friends, like, if you told someone who has never been to Chicago that if they're walking down the street and they come to a neighborhood that is predominantly black, you're probably in a bad neighborhood. And that's not race-based. That is just, there's a correlation there. For whatever reason you want to argue about it. There are outliers. Hyde Park has double the national average of black people, and it's actually below average crime. And that's where Barack Obama lives. And that's actually a very beautiful and safe neighborhood. So, you know, my point is largely...
But that's class-based, too.
But my point is, we can certainly make the point about Chicago neighborhoods having higher crime in the black neighborhoods. But when you are discerning, you should be discerning largely based on the type of person. Because if you ignore that a white guy looks like he may be a drug addict, violent person, just because he's white, you're stupid. You're going to get hurt.
That becomes the initial analysis of culture. And here's the problem. We're aggravated at people right now in this country because they are assessing culture in a split second and making a choice that may be to go to the other side of the street or lock the car door or whatever, because they've seen culture turn out badly when that culture then attacks them. And people, I don't think it's wrong to say someone is bad for recognizing some cultures are just less valuable than others.
And we're all kind of beating around the bush because in this very case, had she chosen to sit in the other car,
she'd be alive.
She'd be alive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you could call her whatever you want, but she'd still be alive. And you know, and it's also true that it bears out that that low income white neighborhoods are still less violent than low income black neighborhoods.
We saw a stat today that said black women commit more murders than white men.
Black women commit more murders than white men. That's
and I think
wild.
I don't know. We had it up on I don't know if it was up here today or if I just saw it on X. But yeah, I mean, you know, statistics are what it is.
Yeah, I mean the cop shows that you watch on Netflix.
No murders.
Like
what?
the
Hyde Park has almost no murder.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, income correlates with violence. Like we've clearly, high income does not.
Well, yeah,
correlate
when you
with
don't go to
violence.
when you don't commit violence, you don't go to jail, and that means you can go to work and you can make your life better.
Well, it's also an idea of low time preference. That if you're someone who understands delayed gratification, you're going to work harder, you're going to make more money. Typically, if you're not like some scam artist. But no, the line I was just going to make, and Serge and I were chatting about this before, is that like all those Netflix cop shows are lying to you. Like the idea of white collar murder in America, it's so rare.
So rare.
It's so exceedingly rare.
Hen's teeth.
It is. Yeah, exactly. It is quite the opposite, where you are much more likely to be the victim of crime if you are white collar in America than to be the perpetrator of crime. And yet every single one of these cop shows, except for The Wire, which is the only one 25 years ago, does not show you the actual truth about murder in America.
Let's read some more. We got Jacob Hawley says Nepal imploded. Thousands are fleeing into India. The prime minister's wife was set on fire and ended.
Excuse me, another communist prime minister.
Another former prime minister's other was stripped and thrown off a balcony. Parliament members are being captured and killed.
Are they communists?
The video, cares? This is the fascinating thing about the government is that it's a Republican parliamentary system. dominated by communist political parties and socialist parties. So
That's
it's all
because you can vote your way into communism, but you have to shoot your way out.
and that's what's happening right now in Nepal.
So up until 2008, Nepal was a monarchy.
Yep.
And then since 2008, I think they've had like a dozen different governments but it was the communists that overthrew the monarchy. So the Maoist insurgency, which was largely funded by the CCP, to use as a check against India. The problem is that no communist government has been able to gain stability there, so they just keep going through cycles of this.
And then they tried to take away TikTok, and the kids got pissed.
So it's and
Actually, they didn't. TikTok
it was a social media.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay.
I think it was every other social media was banned. And so what can I say? We've got a lot of good communists being made in Nepal right now.
Unit Glue says, look up Project Stingray. Law enforcement is using it. It's unconstitutional. 2, CA clinics are refusing to comply with, what does it say? FMCSA truck department. You can do DOT physical, you pay, then they refuse, send it to the FMCSA. I don't know what that is.
The Stingray thing?
No, the second part of that was something about trucking in California.
I don't know anything about
No
that.
idea. Stingray, that's when they intercept your phones, right?
Yeah, they fake being a cell phone tower.
The Polish government has finally put out something. And
it's vagaries and
operational commanders. During today's attack by the Russian Federation carrying out strikes on targets in Ukraine, our airspace was violated by drone-type objects.
Whoa.
An operation is underway aimed at identifying and neutralizing the objects. On the orders of the operational commander of the Polish Armed Forces, weapons have been deployed. Services are actively working to locate the downed objects.
Whoa.
So,
That sounds
regardless
confirmed.
of exactly what happened, it does appear to be a violation of Polish airspace. However, it was attacks that were targeted on Ukraine is what they're making sure to put out. But Tim, to your point earlier, NATO would not be scrambling in numbers that we saw had something not spooked.
But the larger question is, will NATO want a direct engagement because they have a casus belli?
No.
Well, they're doing a little of the boiling frog here. So, I mean, you've got, this is how the Russian military has operated, especially kind of on its borders. If it does want to see kind of how the reaction might be, they might say, well, we were actually trying to attack this area and just something kind of fell over to the wayside. I mean, that's something that Russian policy has been since like the mid-aughts, just to try to see, well, what's the reaction if we just get a little close and it's just a little whoopsie kind of an accident. I mean, is that what happened here? I have no idea, but that you could read it that way. We'll have to see.
Potentially, there's certainly boundary testing, but at the same time, it seems very clear that, and it seems that Poland is making very clear in their first official statement now that this was not an attack on Poland.
Oh, good.
I agree.
Well, that's a good thing.
Wow.
Which is different than what the Ukrainian media was reporting initially.
Correct.
Well,
just to be clear,
we may never actually know how, quote unquote, how far the airspace was violated. So, of course, they were saying it was, going as far as, Western Poland. I think CNN said at one point, which is just complete lie.
What? AMAC. We got an important super chat. He says, traditions are a beautiful thing. I've been waiting 9 months to add to the Timcast tradition. Welcome to the world,
Let's
Wyatt
go.
Anthony Mack.
Congratulations.
At 4:51 p.m., a whopping 6 pound 4 ounce. Our first son and second child. Phil, you're next, brother.
I think there will probably be people in between today and when my son is born. But yes, very soon my son will be born.
Congratulations.
Get him a baseball.
How days away, weeks away?
He's going to be born at the end of October. Due date's 22nd.
Let's go.
We'll see.
Let's go.
I'm very excited. She's very uncomfortable.
Getting to that point,
Consistently.
can't sleep on her belly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Brand Dugas says, Tim, the audio of the attack was released. Haunting and sad. He was telling everyone that he got that white girl. Love the show. Follow me, Brand Dugas. This man was told over and over again for a decade, for 15 years, by the corporate press that he was an innocent victim of an evil, white, oppressive patriarchy. And it looks like that's what his motivation was. And then CNN comes out and says, we don't know why he did it. They always do that, don't they?
The New York Times, we may never know.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Well, he clearly was motivated by anti-white hatred and this idea that, and yes, it is spun up by, so what's being done to a lot of the, and in my estimation, what's being done to a lot of the black community, not all of it, but this propaganda is similar to what you see with Hamas radicalization, where they want Black people in America to feel that they are in an apartheid situation.
Right.
And the only way to respond, to liberate yourselves, is to commit mass violence, to commit mass brutality against the oppressors, hit them where it hurts, like going after their children, going after these young women. And does it make any sense? No, of course it doesn't make any sense. Was this woman, obviously not even born in this country? Of course. But it didn't matter, because to him, she was a white girl, and therefore she was an oppressor, she was a member of this class, and she needs to be taken out, because it's just a way to create a race war. That's what they want.
Is this Dom says women should not be in public, and this is the reason why Irina should have not been out of her father's house till she was married, at which point she would have stayed at her husband's home. Feminist men got her killed.
Is the commenter Muslim?
I was going to say, that's a pretty far swing in the other direction.
It was haram that she was on the train.
It was haram.
I think
should have just stayed living in a war zone.
There's many tiers of how we deal with this. First, a guy who's been arrested 14 times, who is clearly crazy, should be institutionalized and not able to walk the streets.
Yep.
After that, people should be allowed to be armed and defend themselves. The media should not be pushing narratives about poor innocent victims in an evil white supremacist patriarchy. There are a lot of things that need to change in our society, I believe, and I would love the conclusion to be that we are all armed and able to defend ourselves in various ways.
Also, from the government perspective, how about public transportation should just be freaking safe? Public city parks should just be safe.
You know how you make it safe? You empower regular citizens to be able to defend themselves and defend others.
Well, Jasmine Crockett says...
Or imagine this, a train where every train cart actually just has these 2 foot by 2 foot cubes, or little rooms.
Get in a pod?
Yeah, you get in a pod. So when the train pulls up, all the doors open at once, and you choose an isolation pod to stand in where it's clear and you can see outside, but no one can touch you, and then you'll be safe.
Maybe there could be like a little syringe, and it could sedate you until you stop.
Oh, or if you're getting aggressive, the arm will grab you and then calm you down.
You know, it's crazy. Yeah. So when I visit Eastern Europe, when I'm in Poland, you don't need any of these things, because they actually take crime seriously, and they just allow you to have a nice city filled with nice people, and you don't need this urban right coming up to correct the problems, because they're already in Poland. You go to jail for 6 years for shoplifting. Right,
6 years for shoplifting.
You can, yeah, you can.
Seems fair.
Jack, let me ask a follow-up question on that.
So you just deal with it at the heart. You deal with it right at the base level.
Regarding Polish police, if they see you committing a crime, what does that cop do in the midst of you committing that crime?
He takes a selfie. He uploads that to TikTok. No, he arrests you.
Oh yeah, does he do it really calmly and nicely, like I am going to put hands on you? What does he do?
No, you're gonna get the crap beat out of you.
What?
By not just him. Usually there will be a swarm of police officers.
You mean implicit corporal punishment for your actions?
Immediately.
Wow.
And I've seen it time and time again.
We are going to go to the uncensored portion of the show at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. So come hang out. This one's going to be fun.
Tim, can we show the video on the uncensored one?
Indeed we can, and it'll get a little spicy, not so family friendly, but again, check it out. Make sure you join our Discord community to stay involved 24/7. There's pre-shows, after shows, everybody's hanging out, and we want you to be friends. Timcast.com, click join us, and your membership helps sustain and support all the work that we do. We have a ton of shows. I got 4 shows now. It's too many. I'm probably going to die. I don't know. But we got Inverted World, we got Pop Culture Crisis, and more to come. We're working on a ton of projects. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Tony, do you want to shout anything out?
Head over to Daily Signal on YouTube. You find our stuff there. We're doing a lot of really great stuff that's totally not going to get us fined by the FCC. That's really all I can legally say about that. So, yeah, you can find us over there.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm Libby Emmons. You can find me on Twitter at Libby Emmons, and you can check out what we're doing at thepostmillennial.com and humanevents.com. I would love if you signed up for my newsletter, thepostmillennial.com/Libby, and you can also check out our sponsor, newsquiz.io. It's a lot of fun.
Jack Posobiec, Human Events Daily. Go give us a follow. Stand your ground. Be afraid. Do not be afraid to stand up, to call out truths, whether it be on racial crime statistics, whether it be on the mass killing of white people that's going on in America. Do not be afraid to simply tell the truth.
Find your local Stop the Bleed class. They're available nationwide and carry tools that will help you help others. I'm Phil That Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. You can check the band out on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer, and YouTube. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all at rumble.com/Timcast IRL in about 30 seconds. And I have a very important question for you. Thanks for hanging out.